विद्या ददाति विनयं विनयात् याति पात्रतां पात्रत्वात् धनम् आप्नोति धनात् धर्म ततः सुखम। हितोपदेश उद्धृत श्लोक का अर्थ है, विद्या मनुष्य को केवल ज्ञान ही नहीं देती बल्कि उसके भीतर विनम्रता का संचार करती है। विनम्रता से पात्रता का विकास होता है, पात्रता से समृद्धि प्राप्त होती है और समृद्धि का सदुपयोग धर्म की स्थापना करता है। अंततः धर्म जीवन को वास्तविक सुख, संतुलन और शांति प्रदान करता है।
A very warm, graceful, and dignified welcome to everyone present here. It gives me immense pleasure and a profound sense of honor to welcome you all to day 3 of NAVCHETNA' 2026, the final and the most intellectually enriching day of this journey. Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed an inspiring conference of ideas, thoughtful reflections, meaningful discourse rooted in the depth of Indian knowledge systems. And today we arrive at its culmination, a day dedicated to paper presentation and the closing ceremony.
भारतीय ज्ञान की गुरु परंपरा को नमन करने के लिए प्रार्थना मंत्र प्रस्तुत है। सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परंपराम्। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। भारतीय संस्कृति में प्रत्येक शुभ कार्य का प्रारंभ ज्ञान, वाणी और सृजन की अधिष्ठात्री देवी माँ सरस्वती के स्मरण से करना केवल परंपरा नहीं बल्कि एक आध्यात्मिक अनुशासन है। इसी मंगल भावना के साथ आइए कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ माँ सरस्वती की वंदना से करें। सरस्वती वंदना के लिए हम शैली जी को आमंत्रित करते हैं।
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा।
Thank you, Shailiji, for the serene and soulful Saraswati Vandana. Now, before we proceed further, let us understand the essence of the platform that has brought us all together, Dakshi. Dakshi stands for the disclosing the ancient knowledge systems and heritage of India. It is not merely an organization but a thoughtful initiative, one that seeks to revive, reinterpret, and re-establish India's profound knowledge traditions and rich cultural heritage through academic engagement. Through its continuous efforts, Dakshi has been creating spaces where ancient wisdom is not confined to the past, but is meaningfully connected with contemporary thought and research.
अब यदि हम आज के इस आयोजन की बात करें तो इसका नाम ही अपने उद्देश्य को स्वयं अभिव्यक्त करता है, नवचेतना, अर्थात एक नवीन जागृति, एक ऐसा बोध जो हमें हमारे मूल की ओर ले जाता है और साथ ही वर्तमान के बौद्धिक परिप्रेक्ष्य में उन्हें पुनः स्थापित करने की प्रेरणा देता है। यह आयोजन केवल एक कार्यक्रम नहीं बल्कि एक ऐसा अकादमिक मंच है जहाँ भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को शोध, तर्क और विश्लेषण के माध्यम से समझने और प्रस्तुत करने का अवसर प्राप्त होता है। दाक्षी द्वारा आयोजित इस प्रमुख पहल का युवा मस्तिष्क को प्रेरित करना उद्देश्य है कि वे केवल ज्ञान परंपरा को जाने नहीं बल्कि उसे अन्वेषित करें, उसे अभिव्यक्त करें एवं आगे भी बढ़ाएं।
The theme of the academic year of Dakshi this time is Reclaiming Shakti, exploring the Indic idea of feminism. So, to start the event today, I would like to invite Monica ji to present her beautiful poem on the theme.
धन्यवाद निकिता जी
सर्वप्रथम यहाँ उपस्थित जितने भी डिग्नेटरीज हैं, मैं उन सबको प्रणाम करती हूँ। डॉक्टर इंदिरा मैम, डॉक्टर सोमा नायर मैम एंड अक्षित भैया, माय ग्रीटिंग्स टू यू। तो मेरी जो पोएम है वो इसी थीम पर बेस्ड है और उसका जो टाइटल है वो है नारी स्वयं की खोज। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं कि समाज ने नारी को सदैव संबंधों की परिधि में रखा है। वह माँ भी रही है, वह पत्नी भी है, वह बहन भी है, वह बेटी भी है। परंतु ये जो भूमिकाएं हैं ये मिथ्या नहीं है, किंतु अधूरी है, क्योंकि नारी की उस मूलभूत रूप को अभिव्यक्त नहीं करती जो इन सब से पूर्व है, जो इन सब का आधार है। भारतीय दार्शनिक परंपरा में नारी केवल सामाजिक भूमिका नहीं वरन एक चेतना है, सत्ता है जिसकी आत्मा अपनी साधना है, अपनी खोज है। ये कविता उसी अंतरात्मा की यात्रा है जो 5 सोपानों से गुजरेगी। जिजीविषा से आरंभ होकर तितिक्षा, विवेक और वैराग्य के सोपानों से गुजरती हुई मुमुक्षा की परिणति तक जाएगी। तो सर्वप्रथम जिजीविषा से प्रारंभ करते हुए, जन्म जन्म की जड़ता तोड़कर जागी जब जिजीविषा, जगत जाल की जंजीरों से जूझी जीवन जिज्ञासा। जड़ चेतन की जन्म भूमि पर जलती जीवन ज्वाला है, जन्म लेना ही जानना है, जानना ही जीना है। जिज्ञासा की जमीन जोत कर जीवन बीज जमाती है, जितना जानती जाती है जितनी जटिल हो जाती है। जिस जिस पर जगत हंसा है जीत वहीं से जन्मी है, जिज्ञासु जीव की जय है जो जग से जूझती रहती है। ज्ञान ज्ञान में जो जलती है, जड़ता को जो जलाती है, ज्योति ज्योति जोड़ जोड़ कर जगत को जो जगाती है। ज्ञात अज्ञात की जल्दी में जलयान सी जाती है, जो जानती है कि जानना अधूरा है। जीवन जीवन में जो छुपी है जड़मूल से जुड़ती है, जर 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 जंजीरों को जीवट से जो तोड़ती है। जीवन को जो जी जी कर जीवंत जगत रचती है, जो जीती है जीतती नहीं, जीना ही जीत है। जग जग की जो जननी है, जगत जड़ जिसने थामी है, जन जन की जो जीवन धारा, जग जीवन की स्वामी है। जगत ने जो जुल्म दिताया, जज्बात से जीती है, जग को जानकर जग से परे जाकर ही जीती है। इसी के साथ में दूसरे सोपान तक जाते हुए, तितिक्षा। तप तप कर जो तपती रहती, तन मन तपसी होती है, तिमिर तिमिर में तारा बनकर तट तट पर संभलती है। तोड़ तोड़ कर तर्क तंत्र को तत्व तलाश में जाती है, तप ही तीर्थ है, तप ही त्राण है, तप से ही तर जाती है। तितिक्षा तितिक्षा में तपती तिल तिल तीखी होती है, तिरस्कार की तीखी तलवार तन पर सहती चलती है। तिक्त तिक्त तजकर तृष्णा तुष्टि तत्व पाती है, तितिक्षु तितिक्षा ही तत्व ज्ञान तक जाती है। तत्व तत्व को टटोलती वह तर्क तराजू तानती है, तथ्य तथ्य के तहकाने में तत्वमसी पहचानती है। तत्वमसी की तान सुनकर तन्मय तल्लीन होती है, तत्व जानकर तृप्त नहीं तत्वातीत को खोती है। तृष्णा तृष्णा में तड़पती वह तृप्ति तलाश में जाती है, तृण तृण तोड़कर तृष्णा को तुरिया तट पर पाती है। तृप्त अतृप्त के तट के बीच तरती तैरती रहती है, तृष्णा ही तीर्थ है उसका, तृष्णा में तृप्ति बहती है। तिमिर तिमिर में तपती तपती तेज तरंग तरती है, तोड़ तोड़ कर तिमिर तंत्र को तेजस्विनी बनती है। तिरोहित तिरोभूत होकर भी तेजोमय तन रचती है, तिमिर ही तेज है, तेज ही तिमिर, तत्व यही कहती है। त्याग त्याग में तत्पर रहकर तृण तुल्य तन मानती है, त्याग कर तन मन तर्क सभी तुरिया तत्व जानती है। तत्व त्याग तितिक्षा मिलकर त्रिवेणी सी बहती है, तब त्याग तितिक्षा ही तत्वत्वमसि कहती है। अब चतुर्थ सोपान पे जाते हुए, विवेक। विचार विचार में वह विचरती विवेक विभाग को वर्ती है, विषय वासना की वीथी छोड़ विमल विचार को धरती है। विरोध विरोधाभास के बीच विश्वास वृक्ष न झुकता है, विवेक ही वह वरदान जो विषमता से उठता है। विस्तृत विश्व की विपदाओं में विवेकिनी वह चलती है, विभ्रम विभ्रम को विलग करके विद्या विमल मिलती है। वियोग विरह की वेला में भी विवेक दीप जलाती है, विनाश की विकट वेला में विजय विहान पाती है। वासना विचार विलग करके वास्तव वस्तु जानती है, विकल्प विकल्प को विच्छेद कर वास्तविकता मानती है। विभाजन की विडंबना से वह विरल विदुषी होती है, विवेक से ही विमुक्ति मिली विश्व विधात्री होती है। विकार विकार को विजित करके विज्ञान विमल पाती है, वेदना को वेदांत मानकर विद्या वलरी गाती है। विस्मृत विरासत वापस लाकर विश्व को विस्तृत करती है, विवेक ही वह विज्ञान जो विमला को वर्ती है। वैरागी की ओर बढ़ते हुए, राग विराग की रेखा पर वह रुककर रहस्य को जानती, रूढ़ी रूढ़ी को रोंद रोंद कर रोशनी रूप को मानती। रिक्त रिक्त रहकर भी वह रसमय रूप रचती है, रहस्य रहित रहकर भी रागिनी सी बहती है। रहस्य रहस्य में रमी हुई रात रात भर जागती, रीति रीति राह पर भी रोशनी रोशनी मांगती। राग रहित रहकर भी रागात्मक राग रचती है, रहस्य ही उसका रूप है, रहस्य में ही रचती है। रव रहित रण में रहती वह रोम रोम में रचती है, रात अंधेरे की रेखाओं में रश्मि रेख से बचती है। रुदन को रूपक में ढालकर रागात्मक रस बहाती है, रोक रोक कर उलाई को राग रागिनी गाती है। राग से रहित रागिनी बनती, रहस्य रूप रचती है, रूप अरूप की रस्सा कसी में राह राह पर बहती है। रिक्तता को रचना देकर राग रंग में रंगती है, राख राख से रोशनी लेकर रात में रवि सी जगती है। और इसी के साथ अंततः मैं अपने अंतिम चरण में पहुंचते हुए, जो कि मुमुक्षा है, मुक्ति की मझधार में मचलकर मन मन मौन को मापती है, मोह माया की मर्यादाओं में मुमुक्षा मार्ग को नापती है। ममता मोह की मूल मृत्यु से मुक्त मन उड़ती है, मुमुक्षा ही माँ, मुमुक्षा ही मुक्ति बनती है। मौन में महाकाश को मापती, मन मंथन में डूबती है, मर्म मर्म को मत कर भी मधुर मार्ग को छूती है। मृत्यु मृत्यु से मुंह मोड़कर मोक्ष मार्ग में चलती है, मन को मन से मुक्त करके महाशून्य में मिलती है। मिटना ही मिलना है, उसका मिलना ही मुक्ति है। मैं मेरे की माया तोड़कर महत भाव की युक्ति है। मुमुक्षु मन की मिट्टी में मोक्ष बीज अंकुरता है, मुमुक्षा ही वह मंत्र जो मुक्त करता मुक्त रहता है। मन मतनी से मत कर माया महामंथन मचाती है, मर्यादा की मजबूत मिट्टी में मुक्ति ज्योति जगाती है। महाकाल की माया में भी महाशक्ति मचलती है, मुमुक्षा ही मोक्ष है, मुमुक्षा में ही मिलती है। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Monica ji, for such a wonderful poem. And now we move towards the most awaited and intellectually engaging segment of today, the paper presentation session. Before we begin, let me briefly outline the guidelines. Each participant will be allotted 7 plus 1 minutes to present their paper. And at the 6th minute, we play a bell sound so that you can know that you have left only 1 minute and you have to wrap up. And 1 minute for the question answer segment. This will be followed by brief interaction where judges may ask questions. Participants are requested to adhere strictly to the time limit. The presentation should be based on original research or ideas. The presentation should be in English or Hindi, and decisions of the judges will be final.
किसी भी प्रतियोगिता की गरिमा और निष्पक्षता उसके निर्णायकों पर निर्भर करती है। आज हमारे बीच ऐसे प्रतिष्ठित एवं अनुभवी व्यक्तित्व उपस्थित हैं जिनका ज्ञान और दृष्टिकोण इस मंच को और अधिक सार्थक बनाएगा।
Our first judge is Dr. Indira Malapakkam ma'am. Dr. Indira Malapakkam ma'am is a distinguished researcher and scholar. She completed her PhD on Telugu inscription in Karnataka and pursued her postdoctoral research on women in art in South India at Puducherry University. She is the former programmer director at the Shri Aurobindo Research Center and currently serves as the director at Sanatan Jeevan Trust, an independent center of Gyan Bharatam under Ministry of Culture, Government of India. She has received several prestigious awards, including the State Level Pratibha Award for the year 2014, presented by Shri N. Chandrababu Naidu in Visakhapatnam. She was also awarded Dr. Chalashni Anjayelu Gold Medal from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati, along with many other recognitions. She is currently appointed as the head of Dakshi Council for Historical Research under Dakshi.
Our second judge is Dr. Soumya Nair. Dr. Soumya Nair is a highly dedicated scholar with a profound interest in Sanskrit and Indian philosophy. She obtained her master's degree in Sanskrit Vedanta from Government Sanskrit College, Tripunithura, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala, as emerging top-ranked student. Her academic excellence continued with an MPhil from Sri Sankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi, where she secured the first rank. Her PhD thesis was titled as Metaphysical Perspectives, Advaitic Thought and Sufism. In 2019, she successfully cleared the UGC NET examination. Dr. Nair has made significant contributions to her field with more than 17 research papers and a book titled Sufism in Vedanta to her credit. She is currently serving as an assistant professor at St. Mary's College, Osmania University, Hyderabad. Her remarkable achievements include more than 6 awards, among which is the prestigious Acharya Chanakya Samman of the year 2023 awarded by Vilakshan Sarthak Samiti, Haryana.
And now our moderator, Shri Akshat Kumar Bhadoria. Shri Akshat Kumar Bhadoria is a graduate in history from Kirodi Mal College, University of Delhi, and done his postgraduate studies in history from the University of Delhi itself. He has qualified UGC NET in very first attempt. Originally from Gwalior, MP, he has also served as a college ambassador for the Election Commission of India in 2024. He is an independent researcher whose primary aim is to establish an Indic perspective and historiographical tradition. He has participated in several history projects, academic conferences, and his articles, research papers, and chapters have been published in various journals and books. He has authored 4 books titled Shudra Ek Divyavan, Kaante Ka Vriksh, Niyati, and Manmohak. He has contributed to the literature tradition of Bharat by writing over 150 poems and several bhajans, and was honored by the Ministry of Education of India for his compositions. He is the founder and director of Dakshi movement.
We feel deeply honored to have such distinguished judges with us today. Their presence not only elevates the standard of this event but also inspires every participant present here. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to them for being a part of NAVCHETNA 2026. To formally welcome our esteemed judges, our participants, and everyone joining us, and to mark the commencement of this final and most awaited day, I invite Niharika ji to deliver the welcome note.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्राची जी और मोनिका जी। रहस्य ही उसका रूप है, रहस्य ही वह रचती है, मुमुक्षा ही माँ, मुमुक्षा ही मुक्ति बनती है। मोनिका जी की वीर, प्रेरणा, रौद्र और विभत्स रस से भरी हुई इस अदम्य कविता की पंक्तियों के साथ मैं देवी भगवती के चरणों में प्रणाम करती हूँ तथा साथ ही आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। संपूर्ण दाक्षी परिवार की ओर से आप सभी का नवचेतना के इस तृतीय दिवस पर बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। सर्वप्रथम मैं नवचेतना के अंतर्गत आयोजित हो रहे पेपर प्रेजेंटेशन प्रतियोगिता के अधिनिर्णायक एवं मुख्य अतिथि डॉक्टर इंद्रामाला पका मैम एवं डॉक्टर सौम्या नायर मैम का बहुत बहुत स्वागत करती हूँ। मैम, आप दोनों का समर्थन एवं मार्गदर्शन सदैव ही दाक्षी परिवार को मिलता रहा है तथा अधिनिर्णायक के तौर पर आज आपकी उपस्थिति निसंदेह ही सभी प्रतिभागियों को स्पष्ट सुझाव एवं मार्गदर्शन देगी तथा उन्हें नए अनुभवों से परिपूर्ण करेंगी। साथ ही मैं दाक्षी के निर्देशक तथा आज की प्रतियोगिता के सभापति अक्षत कुमार भदौरिया भैया का भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत करती हूँ। आपकी उपस्थिति भी हम सभी के लिए प्रेरणा में है। साथ ही आज की प्रतियोगिता के सभी प्रतिभागियों का स्वागत है। आशा है कि आप लोग अपने विषय, विचार एवं अनुसंधान स्पष्ट रूप से सभी श्रोतागणों तक पहुंचाएंगे तथा आप सभी को इसके लिए बहुत बहुत शुभेच्छाएं। एक बार मैं पुनः इंदिरा मैम, सौम्या मैम, अक्षित भैया, सभी प्रतिभागियों एवं सभी श्रोताओं का पुनः स्वागत करती हूँ तथा आप सभी का जुड़ने के लिए ढेर धन्यवाद। अब मैं प्राची जी और निकिता जी से अनुरोध करती हूँ कि वह कार्यक्रम को और प्रतियोगिता को आगे बढ़ाएं।
धन्यवाद दीदी। नवचेतना 2026 का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण और बहुप्रतीक्षित सत्र शोध पत्र प्रस्तुति अब प्रारंभ होने जा रहा है। आज के हमारे प्रतिभागी भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अपने शोध को इस मंच पर प्रस्तुत करेंगे। हम सभी प्रतिभागियों से अनुरोध करते हैं कि जब उनका नाम पुकारा जाए तो वो अपना माइक अनम्यूट करें और पूर्ण आत्मविश्वास के साथ अपनी प्रस्तुति प्रारंभ करें। ध्यान रहे, समय का ध्यान रखें, समय बहुत ज़रूरी रहेगा हमारे लिए। जब आपके प्रेजेंटेशन के 6 मिनट कंप्लीट हो जाएंगे, एक बेल बजेगी। आप लोग ध्यान रखिएगा कि आप 7वें मिनट तक उसे बाइंड अप कर लें और जो 1 मिनट होगा वो प्रश्न के लिए होगा। तो अगर जजेस पूछना चाहें तो वो आपसे प्रश्न कर सकते हैं।
So without any further delay, let us begin. I invite our first participant to present, Divyaraj Singh ji. You may unmute yourself and start.
Namaste to the respected scholars, distinguished guests, and dear participants. I, Divyaraj Singh from Hansraj College of the University of Delhi. And before we begin our discussion on my paper, it's an honor for me that with this paper, we are beginning this national seminar as well as this paper presentation competition. I'm highly obliged and honored for that. So my paper is titled Devotion as Defiance a study of Mirabai's challenge to patriarchy and societal norms. Um, may I request the PPT presentation, please? Um, yes, ma'am. The next slide, please, ma'am. Introduction part. Can we move to the next slide? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, beginning with the introduction, we all are very well aware of the fact that Mirabai is considered amongst the greatest bhakti saints to walk on the soil of India. Her love and devotion to Krishna worked a locus of allegiance, one that displaced marital fidelity, lineage honor, and patriarchal surveillance. A Rajput princess who rejected the roles of a dutiful wife, an obedient widow, and a socially sanctioned womanhood, Mirabai transgressed the normative frameworks that governed female conduct in both the religious as well as the royal spheres. The next slide, please. This paper addresses the problem of how women's identities and roles were strictly regulated within the patriarchal structures of medieval Indian society, particularly in the Rajput context, where ideals of honor, obedience, and marital devotion defined womanhood. How did Mirabai use devotion as a means to challenge patriarchal authority and dominant social norms of her time is very central to the paper. The paper further explores how her poetry and devotional practices can be understood not merely as expressions of personal faith, but as reflections of broader social tensions related to gender, caste, and authority. On the right hand side, we can see the very image of Lord Krishna, which Meeraji herself worships since her childhood. It is currently situated at the Jagat Shiromani temple at Amer. It's quite an underrepresented temple. So as a part of the darshanam of the idol, I have kept this image. So can we move to the next slide, please? The research is based on a textual analysis of selected padas of Mirabai, which are treated as primary sources to understand her devotional expression and its deeper social implications. In addition to this, the study also make use of secondary scholarship as well to reconstruct the historical and cultural context of Mirabai's life. The approach of the study is interpretative and historical, where Mirabai's life events, poetry, and devotional practices are analyzed to understand how they challenge patriarchal norms, caste hierarchy, and social expectations in medieval society. The next slide, please. If coming to the results of this paper, firstly, the study shows that Mirabai challenged the institution of patriarchal marriage. Instead of accepting her husband as the center of her identity, she declared Krishna as a true and eternal companion. This is clearly reflected in her famous pada, Mere to Girdar Gopal, Dusro Na Koi. Through this, Meera rejects worldly marital identity and establishes a divine centered identity directly opposing the ideal of a Pativata Nari. Secondly, the study finds that Mirabai defied Rajput norms of honor and female seclusion. Women of royal households were restricted to the zenana, which were the women quarters of the royal palace, and expected to maintain strict public decorum. However, Meera openly crossed these boundaries by singing and dancing in public devotional spaces, even wearing ghungroos, which was considered inappropriate for a Rajput princess. Thus, devotion enabled her to transform private spirituality into public expression, challenging gender restrictions. Thirdly, the study highlights Mirabai's rejection of caste hierarchy. By accepting Guru Ravidas and associating freely with the Bhakti community, she transcended caste boundaries. This is reflected in her verse, Mera Sanan Ram ke, Mane Mera Guru Milya Re Das. Here, Meera not only rejects family structures, but also affirms her spiritual belonging through Ravidas, thereby challenging caste-based exclusion. The next slide. Fourthly, the study reveals her resistance to social honor and reputation, which was central to Rajput identity. In a powerful expression of defiance, she states, Rano, maane ye badnami lage meethi. This indicates that Meera consciously rejects the concept of log laj or public shame, showing that devotion takes precedence over societal approval. Fifthly, the study shows her rejection of widowhood norms and practices like sati instead of conforming to societal expectations after her husband's death. Meera asserts that Krishna is her eternal companion. This is reflected in her defiant questioning of worldly ties, where she refuses to define herself through marriage or bodily relations. Sixthly, the study highlights Mirabai's complete spiritual autonomy and rejection of institutional authority. As discussed, she refused to formally associate with well established sects as well, especially the famous Vallabh Sampradaya, and maintained an independent devotional path. Finally, the study also reflects her resistance to political power, especially in the narrative of the poison sent by the Rana. Here, Meera represents devotion as something that purifies and strengthens her even in the face of death, symbolizing resistance to royal authority. The next slide. To conclude, this study finds that Mirabai's devotion functioned as a powerful form of resistance against patriarchal norms, caste hierarchy, and honor based social structures. Through her rejection of marital expectations, social reputation, and institutional control, she asserted an independent spiritual identity rooted in bhakti. The implications of this study suggest that devotion within the bhakti tradition provided a culturally accepted space through which women could challenge social constraints without direct confrontation. Mirabai's life therefore highlights how her spiritual practices can become tools of social transformation and expressions of individual agency. Thus, devotion in Mira's life becomes her defiance. The next slide.
Time is up.
These are the references which I have referred. The next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time and patience. Thank you.
Judges may can ask questions.
Not Diviraj, very good. So very good try, very nice. And only one or two points I have made here. Since you have mentioned Badnami Lage Meeti and Log Laj, all these things and all. So I would like to ask you just a question. Like now we are taking all these things as the societal, forms of resistance and all. At those days, this is purely bhakti. Okay, so how do you feel that? How did the society reacted to her actions in those days? Like it is like तब के बारे में बताइए अगर आप मैंने पूरा पेपर नहीं देखा आपका पीपीटी या दैट्स रियली गुड इन्फॉर्मेटिव बट व्हाट वुड यू फील लाइक ये रेसिस्टेंस माना जाता था कि ओनली भक्ति मूवमेंट में एक पार्ट या द लेडी कभी कभी हम भी देखते हैं ना कोई गाना गा रहे हैं या एक्शंस इन वेरियस एक्शंस एंड डांसिंग एज यू सेड being a princess she came out and started singing and dancing and all so limitations भी होंगे तो आप कैसे इंटरप्रेट करना चाहते हैं कि सोसाइटल रेसिस्टेंस सोचेंगे कि ओनली प्योरली भक्ति सोचेंगे?
Ma'am, the devotion of Mirabai, as per what I have understood from my study, is particularly based on pure devotion towards God. This is the key central point which I found out because when I was writing this paper, I came across many instances from the primary sources, especially reading Mirabai's Padas herself, where she herself has mentioned that Meera, during her lifetime, she had to suffer a lot because of her religious devotion to Krishna ji. Particularly, I can give you two instances as well, where when she enters the royal palace, she was asked by her mother-in-law to worship the mother goddess, which is Gangol, and Meera refuted to worship Gangol, stating that Krishna is her eternal husband and is a deity she has surrendered herself to. So this was not liked by the Rajput identity because since she was married into the family of Marwar, so they were originally Shakti worshippers and she was more like we can say उनने अपनी बाउंड्री से क्रॉस होके उनने ऐसा कदम उठाया क्योंकि we also find one more instance where while Meera was in the markets of Almer, it is said a saint was saying inappropriate words to her, and he was asking her to spend time with him. So what Meera did was that she organized a bed in front of the whole market, and she asked the saint that if you say that Krishna has ordered you to be, in companion with me, then you are most welcome. Come here on my bed. So the saint becomes highly, he felt that shame within himself when he fell to the feet of Meera. So we can do say that Meera's devotion at the end is something which still keeps the originality of faith alive. That because sometimes some things cannot be answered. When we are highly stressed, we are depressed, then only it's that unwavering faith in God which actually keeps our mind, body, and soul moving. So
Good. ये points भी अच्छे हैं. Very good. Good.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Soumya
ma'am.
ma'am. Soumya ma'am, do you want to ask questions?
Except now I think nothing. She also explained nicely. She also explained nicely. So let us move to the next.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Devaraji. Moving further, I would like to call Shefali ji. Kindly present your presentation.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
And my screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. So greetings and namaste to everybody, the respected scholars on the online dais and the other members. I would like to be bilingual when I present my PPT and my research paper. So today I am going to present on the topic कि प्री अशोकन टाइम्स में जब हम बोलते हैं महाजनपद पीरियड जब हमारा ऑलमोस्ट एंड में था, मॉडर्न एम्पायर का राइज हो रहा था, उस पॉइंट पे जो एपिग्राफिकल इंस्क्रिप्शंस थे हमारे, उनके थ्रू हमें फीमेल की जो कंडीशंस हैं, जो हमारा एक प्री कंसीव्ड नोशन भी रहा है कि वैदिक काल में या लेटर वैदिक काल में जो सोसाइटी में सोशल इवल्स चलते, फीमेल्स का एक बहुत ही सप्रेस्ड फॉर्म देखने मिलता है एंड द सोसाइटी वाज मेनली पैट्रियार्कल. सो उस टाइम पे क्या कुछ ऐसा था दैट कैन ब्रिंग अस टू अ कंक्लूजन और अ नोशन दैट नो, फीमेल्स वर नॉट entirely suppressed during that period of time which we consider that they were very suppressed and kept under the patriarchal norms. So my research gap that is that the condition of females during the महाजनपदन पीरियड और द प्री अशोकन पीरियड थ्रू एंटायरली एपिग्राफिकल, यानी कि इंस्क्रिप्शंस के थ्रू ही मैंने ये पूरा स्टडी किया है. अब काफी लोग ये कहेंगे या क्रिटिसाइज कर सकते हैं कि आई हैव नॉट कंसिडर्ड और काउंटर चेक इट विद द अदर लिटरेरी एविडेंसेस लाइक इंडिका और अर्थशास्त्र. सो व्हेन वी सी द लिटरेचर अवेलेबल ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक, हमें विमेन कंडीशंस पे काफी सारा टेक्स्ट मिलता है जो कि स्टार्ट फ्रॉम अर्ली वैदिक, ऋग्वैदिक, लेटर वैदिक, बट इंस्क्रिप्शंस के ऊपर पर्टिकुलरली कोई भी रिसर्च अब तक अंडरटेकन नहीं किया गया है जो entirely dedicated हो फीमेल कंडीशंस पर इन or before Ashokan period. So my methodology was very clear that I took up the three major inscriptions that are considered to be dated before Ashokas. They are Piparva inscription, Sahagora and Mahasthan. और इन तीन इंस्क्रिप्शंस को मैंने क्वालिटेटिव स्टडी करके एपिग्राफिकली एनालाइज करके, दे आर इन ब्राह्मी स्क्रिप्ट एंड प्राकृत लैंग्वेज, उसमें विमेन लाइफ या विमेन के बारे में क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलती है, मैंने वो ट्राई किया है एक नोशन जनरेट करने का. अगेन लाइक आई से, हिस्ट्री इज मोर अबाउट पर्सपेक्टिव्स एंड फैक्ट्स. इज अ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ माइंड. आई एम नॉट एज सर्टेनिंग और प्रेजेंटिंग इट कि हाँ यही था, ये भी हो सकता था. दैट इज माई थ्योरी. सो फर्स्ट व्हेन वी सी द पिपरवा रेलिक इंस्क्रिप्शंस, बुद्ध के महापरिनिर्वाण जो कि हम अज्यूम करते हैं 489 बीसी सिरका के आसपास, उसके बाद जब 8 मेन चीफडम्स में एक युद्ध छिड़ा कि बुद्ध के जो अस्थि अवशेष हैं वो कौन रखेगा. मल्लों ने कहा कि बुद्ध कुशीनगर में उनका वही परिनिर्वाण हुआ है तो वी वांट देयर हिज रिलिक्स. देन द साक्या क्लैन सेड कि बुद्ध हमारे क्लैन को बिलोंग करते थे, उनका लिनिएज हमारा, तो वी वांट हिज रिलिक्स. तो ब्राह्मण द्रोण ने उनके अस्थि अवशेषों को 8 भागों में बंटवारा किया एंड उनमें से एक जो पार्ट है उनके बॉडी रिमेन्स का, दैट वेंट टू साक्य क्लैन। तो साक्य क्लैन ने उनके उसको रिस्पेक्ट करते हुए एक स्तूप बनवाया, एंड उस स्तूप में हमें मिलता है पिपरवा रेलिक इंस्क्रिप्शन। इस इंस्क्रिप्शन में ये कहा गया है कि बुद्धा के अस्थि अवशेषों को यहाँ पर शाक्य क्लैन के भतीन, सुकृति भतीन, भतीन यानी कि उनके भाई, सभग्निकनम उनके बहन, भाई बहन, सपूत यानी कि पूतविनो सन, और सपूत दल्लम यानी कि पुत्र वधु। तो बुद्ध के अस्थि अवशेषों को यहाँ पर जो स्तूप बनवाया गया है वो बनवाया गया है बुद्ध या शाक्य क्लैन के भाई, बहन, पुत्र एंड पुत्र वधु ने। तो यहाँ हमें, दिस इज द ओनली इंस्क्रिप्शन दैट मेंशंस in pre-Ashokan time about females, where we find sisters and wives, the daughters, daughter-in-law, and sisters of the family contributing to donations and having a say or a place in donations that are made in the like in the अराउंडिंग्स। एंड ऐसा हमें बहुत लिटरेरी टेक्स्ट में अभी भी हमें ये एविडेंस नहीं मिला है कि फीमेल्स वर अलाउड इन डोनेशन। दिस इज द ओनली इंस्क्रिप्शन दैट स्टैंड आउट इन दैट पार्ट। नेक्स्ट इज सोहागोरा कॉपर प्लेट इंस्क्रिप्शन। सोहागोरा कॉपर प्लेट इंस्क्रिप्शन जो है वो हमें, उसमें हमें एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ ग्रेनरी स्टोरेज मिलता है। यहाँ पे हमें कोई भी फीमेल मेंशन नहीं मिलता है। ओनली मेंशन ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग वी फाइंड इज द मेल मेंशन ऑफ महामात्र, बट हमें कोई महामात्रिका का मेंशन नहीं मिलता है इसमें। देन इन महास्थान अगेन, इट्स अगेन एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इंस्क्रिप्शन दैट particularly talks about the disaster management and famine control measures and the storage of grain and granaries. So again इसमें भी हमें administrative information मिलती है, locations की information मिलती है, but we do not find any mention of any female. So इन सब के चलते हम ये एक की फाइंडिंग कह सकते हैं कि फीमेल्स का जो प्रेजेंस था वो काफी हद तक रिलीजियस या सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखने मिलता है, लेकिन हमें एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में उनकी इनविजिबिलिटी दिखाई मिलती है एशियन इंडिया में। सो दीज आर माय रेफरेंसेस एंड थैंक यू। एनी क्वेश्चंस?
From audience, anyone want to ask questions? Okay, so we move forward. Next is Shrishti Parashar.
Namaste everyone, respected Dr. Indira Mallapakka ma'am, Dr. Soumya Nair ma'am, our moderator Sri Yakshit Kumar Bhadoria ji, and my esteemed audience. I extend my respectful greetings to all of you. My name is Srishti Parashar. I'm a first year student pursuing history honors from Daulatram College. Today, I'm here to present my paper on the topic Ardhanarishwar and decolonizing feminism, rethinking gender beyond Western binaries in Indian thought. The term Ardhanarishwar is derived from the Sanskrit word Ardh means half, Nari means woman, and Ishwar means Lord. It represents a composite form of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, where the deity is depicted as half male and half female. It symbolizes the unity of masculine, that is Purush, and feminine, that is Prakriti, energies in the universe. This concept is deeply rooted in Hindu philosophy, art, and spirituality. Now, having understood the introduction part, it is important to now to turn to the two key questions that this study seeks to address. First key question is, how can Ardhanarishwar be understood as a metaphysical concept of non-duality, that is Advait, rather than merely a visual or a religious icon? Second key question is, to what extent does Ardhanarishwar truly represent gender equality, and to what extent does it reinforce subtle hierarchies within the masculine feminine duality? In order to address these questions, the study is guided by the following key objectives. First objective is to examine the philosophical foundation of Ardhanarishwar as an embodiment of Shiva Shakti, non-duality in Indian metaphysical and theological tradition. second objective is to evaluate the limitation of Western feminist and gender theories when applied to Indian traditional and philosophical context, particularly in relation to the sexuality and gender roles. Because, see, when we look, contemporary feminist discourse in India has largely been shaped through the selective application of Western feminist theories, often rooted in liberal post-enlightenment and individualistic epistemologies. While these frameworks have been instrumental in addressing gender inequality, their universalizing tendencies overlook the cultural, philosophical, historical specificities of non-Western societies like India. Uh, Thus, this paper seeks to critique the uncritical applicability of Western feminist paradigms in Indian context by engaging with the concept of Ardhanarishwar as a shared cosmic function rather than a basis of dominance or subordination. Despite the extensive scholarship on the Ardhanarishwar, several significant gaps remain. First research gap that I found was the early art historical studies, which treat Ardhanarishwar as a secondary form of Shiva. And from this sentence, one more research gap appears that they are treating subsidiary aspect of Shiva only. Uh, while the Ardhanarishwar is a composite form of Shiva and Shakti both. Second research gap that I found was the insufficient integration of Vedic dualities into mainstream art, historical, and religious studies. Third research gap that I found was the lack of examination of case studies from different episodes of Puranas or epics. Because there are many examples in our Puranas and epics. There are many stories which show the complementarity and interdependence of both male and female. And the another research gap that I found was that the limited analysis of how Ardhanarishwar may challenge patriarchal structures. Now, talking about the methodologies, then the study adopts the qualitative methodology combining textual analysis, which includes the Puranas, different Puranas and epics, then the philosophical analysis, then the iconographic analysis, then archaeological material culture. And apart from this, I have also incorporated the traditional narratives as case studies. After that, critical interpretive approach I followed to reassess the criticism that have been pointed out by the scholars. And I have critically examined the paradox wherein the divine feminine is symbolically exalted while the real woman continue to face structural marginalization and domestic violence now in contemporary times. So this topic is actually very huge, and because I have a limited time, I would like to just point out the philosophies that I followed. The first philosophy was the Sankhya philosophy, then the Saiva philosophy, third was the Shakti Tantra, and the fourth one is the Vedic conceptions. Yes, these are the case studies that I have worked in my research paper in detail, which shows the complementarity of male and female as we have in the concept of Ardhanarishwar. Now we have some archaeological evidences as well, because in history, it is very important to corroborate the archaeological sources and the textual sources both to prove any point. The first picture that you are seeing, it is from the Somanathapuram Kesava temple, which is in Karnataka. It is actually the Durga as Mahishasur Mardini. The second picture that you are seeing is of the Halabidu Hoysaleshwara temple, which is also located in Karnataka. This picture is depicting the Ardhanarishwar, which is in the Elephanta caves of Maharashtra. This is also depicting the Raman Pahari cave, which is also in Karnataka. Then we have Ganesha's feminine avatar. Then we have Vishnu's Mohini, feminine avatar Mohini. And these are the criticisms actually which I have worked in detail in my research paper. You can see it. When we talk about the results, so we can say that Ardhanarishwar represents the inseparability of masculine and feminine as a single reality. It reflects Advaita Vedanta, where apparent opposite dissolves into unity. However, the concept goes further into Dvait, Advait, Viravijita, a state beyond both duality and non-duality, where distinctions themselves are transcended. So the Ardhanarishwar does not merely unite opposites, it reveals that opposites never truly existed as separate realities. Then talking about whether it depicts the gender equality or subtle hierarchy. So it does not reinforce any sort of hierarchy, even at the empirical level. That is Vyavhar. I can say that in future work, we can examine more the textual sources and we can do
Time
the
is up. Time is up.
comparative analysis. These are some of the references that I have referred to. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, that was good, ma. Only question like अर्धनारीश्वर के लिए आपने कोई अर्धनारीश्वर पैनल को तो प्रेजेंट नहीं किए थे ना इसमें. अदर विष्णु, गणेश जी और मोहिनी अवतार एंड ऑल यू हैव शोड, बट मेरे को तो अर्धनारीश्वर का कुछ दिखाई नहीं दिया. You know, बैकग्राउंड में जो वीडियोस था, that's okay, but I like.
No, ma'am. Ajanta Caves. I have given the picture of Ajanta Caves, and then there was there's one more I have given from the which is in Karnataka actually. I just forgetting the name.
For the
Ravan
dimensional
Pahari Cave.
series, this one. Okay, okay.
Ravan Pahari Cave. And in my research paper, I have included many temples, the
Yeah.
sculptures of the temples.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, good. Okay, then that's okay.
Yeah, so I read your paper also. So I think in that abstract also, you already mentioned about Sankhya philosophy, right? Sankhya metaphysics and the Tantric tradition. Isn't it? Am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So, yeah, in the paper, Sankhya metaphysics and Tantric tradition also you have mentioned, I think. So, just as a curiosity, just I'm asking. So, this Ardhanarishwara concept, how this concept of Sankhya philosophy, how can we connect this? How can we connect this concept of Sankhya in Ardhanarishwara concept?
Ma'am,
Any works or anything? Hmm.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
Sankhya philosophy believes that there is two entity. It believes in two entities, that is Purus and Prakriti. And
Hmm.
after when they combine, then the world creates. But
Hmm.
it also says another purpose, that there is one purpose, that their union leads to the creation of the world. But at the
No,
another point,
hmm.
Samvik Karika 21 specifically explicitly talks about the another purpose, which is that de-identification of them. That when they enjoined, when they combine, only then they could reveal themselves in the
Hmm.
true nature who they are. For example, Samvakya Karika says that Purus is
Sankhyakarika.
yes, ma'am.
Sankhyakarika. Yes.
Purus, yes, ma'am. Purus is conscious but inactive. He cannot act. He is unchanging.
Nirvikara.
While
Yeah, Nirvikara, Nirakara. Yes, yes. Hmm.
then Prakriti is someone who is active, but she is not aware of her power. That she has all the
Viveka is
creativities.
not there. Viveka is not there. That's it, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
So
Okay, okay.
ultimately, even if it is saying that they are two identities, but when they combine, only they can reveal themselves. This is the thing
Hmm.
I can say about the Sankhya philosophy.
Okay, good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that's one. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Shrishti ji. Moving further, I would like to call Sujit Vasant Kumar ji for presenting.
Namaste and pranam to all embodied souls. The title of my paper is Feminine Fragrance in Shaktatantra. For as first information, Shaktatantra is a unique philosophy where we are perceiving Brahman in the feminine form. So let's move to the introduction. Sorry, let's first I will detail about the sources that I have researched to while developing this paper. The Kularnava Tantram, then Vamakeshwari Tantram, Tribhurarnavam, Yogini Hridayam. These are the fundamental literature pertaining to the Srividya tradition of Shakta Tantra. And for detailing the philosophy of Shakti, I have also researched to the Spanda Prativijna text of Triga, which is also known as the Tribhura school pertaining to the Kashmir Shaivism. And here the methodology used is the Tantric hermeneutics and the subjective, the reflexive hermeneutics is the methodology that I have used. Whatever I have shared, the insight that I gained during the rituals and during the meditative, the contemplative practices as a subjective sadhaka perspective. So next slide, please. So the let's start with the introductory verse that Shiva Shaktyo Yukto Yadivavati Shakta Prabhutum Naje Devam Devo Nakalu Kushala Spandidumavi Atastwam Aradyam Harihara Virinja Divirari Pranandum Stotum Va Katamagrata Punya Prabhavati. See, the introductory verse of Saundarya Lahari of Sri Shankara puts forward a powerful Shakta theological and philosophical standpoint, because from this verse itself we will get an insight into the most strong Shakta school, the philosophical thoughts of Kashmir Shaivism, that is Pratyabhijna. If you are taking the root word, the root prab, that implies to eliminate or to make manifest, and this directly point to the doctrine of Pratyabhijna. And the word Spantidumabi, which is the fundamental insight of Spanda school, the pulsating prodigy of Shiva, which is the heartbeat, exactly the heartbeat of Shiva. So if you are differentiating heart and heartbeat, what is the difference? That's what we are applying our logic and ration for differentiating Shakti and Shiva. So there is no heart without heartbeat, and the beat which makes a heart as such. So next we move to the paper does not attempt to argue that Shakti is greater than Shiva or that feminine is superior to masculine. Rather, it rests on the eternal Indic understanding that Shakti is the greatness of Shiva. She is the Mahatva of Shiva, or she is also known as the Mahatattvam. Shakti is the almost all the sum total and sum of all the tattvas, the 36 ontological hierarchy, the subjective principles in the Kashmir Shaivism. So she is also the totality of all the subjective realities. So then the first part of the paper seek to posit Shakti as a powerful soteriological and philosophical category, as an absolute consciousness, and to highlight her distinctness from other Indian philosophical tradition, including her overarching influence on Indian Vyakarana and aesthetics. A purely tantric hermeneutics is attempted to view Shakti as the core principle of the Pratyabhijna Spanda school of Kashmir Shaivism, and as the magnanimous ground for the abstraction of desire and fear through the Tribhura tradition and Kalikrama. This I will explain in later, because the basic notions of desire and fear of human corporeal realities related to Tribhura. She is in the form of desire, and the Kali, she is in the form of fear. So the second part explores the Shakta attitudes towards the feminine, strongly echoed in the Shakta Tantras. It attempts to sacralize the feminine body, senses, and experiences, challenging social taboos around menstruation, impurity, and the anti-woman construct embodied in the conventional discourse. Shakta Tantra reverse and with reference refine this notion, transforming what society label as impurities of body, mind, and senses into potent soteriological tools in the path of liberation. Therefore, upholding the feminine as the embodied essence of the supreme absolute feminine, that is Parashakti. Next slide, please. Now we are coming to the unique aspect of the Shakta Darshana. Here I am trying to posit the philosophical predominance of Shakti. If you are considering the two Indian streams of thought, the orthodox and heterodox, simply the Vedic and Tantric, which is based on Atmavada and Anandavada. One is a path of renunciation, and one is the path of accepting all the bhogas and all the sensual pleasures. There is a debate between these two schools from the time immemorial. So Shakta Tantra gives us a solution that it is integrating both these, that is strongly echoed in the Lalita Sahasranama as the Bhoga Moksha Pradayini. So here we can find the culminating of these two thoughts, which is essential for which is essential in the path of liberation. So the former, which means the orthodox Atmavada, is which is characterized by, rather curtailed by, purity and freedom from the world, seeking immunity from emotional involvement and sensual spontaneity, while the latter, Tantra, upheld the principle of unhindered omnipotent power and internalized impurity, with all its inclusivity and the all-encompassing Shakta attitude of accepting the universe and the self as such, based on the Brahmandaiva Pindanda notion. If we are accepting the universe, rather negating it, we are accepting the feminine also, because feminine is the subtle aspect of the universe, and that's how the fertility, the fecundity cult is all related, and all the witchcraft and the magic performances which is related to feminine. So, hence the Tantra in general and Shakta Tantra in particular handle the soteriological scarcity of the exclusive non-tantric group by wholeheartedly accepting the transgressive impurities imposed on women as the biologic, aesthetic, and soteriological tools to travel the mundane and transcend the spiritual realm. Next slide, please. Now we are coming to the Spanta school to show the philosophical predominance of Shakti.
Sujit ji, you are not audible.
I don't know, I am facing some technical glitches. My connection to the laptop has lost, so now I have connected through mobile. Just shall I continue? Sorry for the interruption.
You have only 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, the next topic is the Spanta, the pulsating prodigy. Then the paper speaks about the ontological characteristics of Pratyabhijna philosophy, and under the heading ornamental ontology. Then I am connecting this Spanda and Pratyabhijna through the concept of Kula. Kula essentially means the body. Where comes the bodily aspects of the feminine and the real fragrance of the feminine also. So next comes the story of Rakta Shakti. I mean sanctifying feminine. That we can see in Lilita Sahasranama Dhyana, Sindhura Aruna Vigraham Dhyana. The red huedness of Devi is implying the dynamic aspects of Shakti. That's why during the hello.
Time is up.
Okay. Thank you.
Turn to judges. You can ask questions.
Namaskar, Sujit. I have one question for you. So, we are talking about the main idea of Shakti, right? So, through the Shakta tradition or through the study which you have done, how we can use that idea to frame the in-depth historiographic tradition, or to implement it in a social perspective as well, because that idea visuals more sort of metaphysical or more sort of in spiritual way. So what type of things which we can use to socialize it?
See, the word we are using, the word you are using, the feminism. The word itself is an import from the colonialist ideas. Instead, I personally recommend to use Shaktism instead of feminism, because the idea of women empowerment that we have imported it from the Western concept only, because she is the all pervading power. There is no need to empower them. She is already empowered, and she is empowering others also, especially men. So there is no need to empower. Just as our title suggests, reclaim Shakti. It is to recognize Shakti, to make her realize that she is the divine aspect of the goddess. That is the duty of every man. Thereby, it creates a social impact in family, because where husband is the Pragasha and wife is the Vimarsha, they are getting reflected upon each other. Since family is the basic unit of society, these ontological ideas should be powerfully enshrined in the family system. Then it will make a reflection in the society as well, and in later course in the nation as well.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sujitji. I request you to kindly mute yourself.
Sorry, I don't know, because due to technical glitches, I have lost my connection, and
Okay. Moving further, I would like to call Tanushka ji to present.
Namaskar. I hope I am audible clearly.
Yes, you are. Please continue.
Yeah. And my screen is also visible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tai visrjayate vishwam jagat etat characharam prasannavada namam bhavati mukte. She creates all this universe, moving and unmoving, and it is she who graciously bestows liberation on humanity. With this, namaskar to all, I am Tanushka, and today I'll be presenting my study titled as From Womb to Web, Jagat Janani, Shakti and Feminist Meaning in Digital India. I want to begin with a question. When we think of power, what comes to our mind? Strength, authority, control. In Indian thought, power itself is imagined as feminine. As reflected in the Devi Mahatamya, the feminine is understood as the force that creates, sustains, and transforms the universe. Concepts like Shakti and Jagat Janani place femininity at the very center of existence, where motherhood embodies power, care, and authority together. This study explores how the ancient concepts of feminine power are being reinterpreted and circulated across digital spaces. The study is hypothesized as while digital platforms appear to revive the imagery of Jagat Janani, they frequently detach Shakti from her philosophical depth, thereby reshaping the motherhood into mediated symbol whose feminist potential is simultaneously activated and constrained. Methodologically, the study adopted a qualitative mixed method approach, combining a digital survey, semi-structured interviews, and analysis of online content. It also draws on key texts like Devi Sukta and Mahatamya, along with modern feminist perspectives. Social media platforms such as Instagram Reels, YouTube, and hashtags were analyzed to understand how Shakti and motherhood are represented and circulated, capturing both public perceptions and digital influences. Now, coming to literature review, I have looked at three layers: early Vedic text, Puranic narratives, and modern feminist perspectives, starting with the Devi Sukta, one of the earliest texts. Here, the feminine is not just represented, Here, the feminine is not just represented, but she speaks as Vak or speech. The goddess presents herself as the source of power, knowledge, and reality itself. Throughout the verse, the Devi does not describe herself through dependence on male deities. Instead, she positions herself as the force that sustains them. As the verse says, Aham Rashtriya Sangmani Vasunam Chakatushi Prathama Yagyayanam Tam ma deva vyadudu purutra bhuri sthatram bhurya veshyanati. I am the queen, the gatherer of vasus, knower of Brahm. The first of the object of yagna, the gods have disposed me in many ways, having many abodes, causing me to pervade many. Then, in the Devi Mahatmya, the idea expands. The goddess is not just a voice, but the force behind creation, protection, and transformation. She is both nurturing and powerful, showing that motherhood is not passive but deeply ethical and transformative. Finally, modern perspectives, especially Mohante, reminds us that empowerment is always shaped by cultural context. So overall literature shows a movement from cosmic feminine power in classical text to reinterpreted mediated power in contemporary context. Now coming to the findings, let me ask you something. When you see goddess reel on Instagram, what do you notice first? The meaning or the visual? That's exactly where the shift begins. From the survey and interviews, most people see Shakti as inner strength, something personal and very connected to, and a very few connected them to social or political power. Similarly, the Jagat Janani is imagined more as caring or protective mother than a powerful transformative force. Now, looking at the digital spaces, as you can see in these screenshots, goddess imagery today is highly aesthetic, filtered music, slow motion visual. It is usually powerful. And even in the comment sections, as you can see, we see patterns like Jai Ma emojis and these hand emojis and short affirmations, quick emotional and shareable forms of devotion. But here is the key finding that motherhood online becomes marketable. It looks powerful, but its deeper authority feels very limited. People engage with it briefly and move on. At the same time, these posts are widely shared, especially on WhatsApp and Instagram during festivals or trends. We also see digital feminist visibility through content like Draupadi or Kali narratives or women's empowerment stories. So, tradition and modern feminism are being connected. And interestingly, when we read classical texts alongside this content, we see a contrast from deep philosophical power to fast visual representation. So, in short, digital platforms do two things. At once, they amplify women's voices and keep the idea of Jagat Janani alive. But at the same time, they reshape Shakti into something more symbolic, aesthetic, and momentary. So, briefly, the results. The finding supports the hypothesis. Digital platforms do revive the imagery of Jagat Janani, but reshape Shakti into more visual and symbolic form. It is largely understood as inner strength, while motherhood is presented through care and empowerment. In discussion, the study shows that while digital platforms increase visibility or Shakti, they also reshape it, making feminine power more visual, emotional, and centered on personal empowerment. Briefly, the limitations we can see that the study relies on survey data and online observations with a limited sample size, and the analysis is interpretative and based on visible trends and linking the ancient text to digital context involves some subjectivity. But despite this, the study provides a strong starting point to understand how Shakti is being redefined in digital India. So, to conclude, is Shakti preserved or transformed? The study shows it is continuously evolving. Digital platforms keep the Divine Mother visible while reshaping her into new forms of expression, and that's the key takeaway. Feminine power today exists at the intersection of technology and tradition, still influential but constantly redefined. Thank you.
Any questions from judges?
Any question from the audience itself? No? Okay, thank you.
Moving forward, I would like to call Dr. Preeti Kumarji for presenting.
Good evening. I hope my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good evening. So my paper is titled Honor, Punishment and Virtue as Evolutionary Strategies and Evolutionary Psychological Rereading of Select Women Characters in Indian Mythology. Now, this is an interdisciplinary paper. Basically, it speaks about the problem that frequently, especially in the modern liberal academic circles, a charge against Hindu philosophy and mythology is that there is a subordinate position accorded to women, in spite of the fact that we speak about Shakti and Ardhanarishwara. We are taking some selected episodes from our mythological texts, like the Agni Pariksha of Sita, and the humiliation of Shurpanaka, mutilation of Shurpanaka, or the petrification of Ahalya. Taking these as instances, it is seen that it is alleged that the Hindu philosophy and mythology accord a subordinate position to women, and it is highly paternalistic, very patriarchal, more than even the Abrahamic traditions. So the problem with this reading is that it ignores the basic psychological understanding of male-female relationships and social behaviors. We must remember that when the Ramayana presents Rama as human, and he is Maryada Purushottam, but he is presented as essentially human. So we need to look at it from a human perspective. Now, what is this evolutionary psychology and how is it relevant? Basically, I would like to go back to how what one of our chief guests had spoken about how men and women are different. They are different biologically, and how Indian philosophy sees women and men as not as equal but different. So this is the point of departure for my paper, because scientific literature shows how, as far as human beings are concerned, it shows how we are basically primitive as far as our biology is concerned. We have high calorie foods because this was what it was before, and similarly, as far as psychology is concerned, we also have as an evolutionary adaptation. So the positioning of women within these texts reflects male and female interactions and male and female selection and relational dynamics. So the research question is, what are the evolutionary pressures which are dramatized in these stories of female chastity, male guardianship, and chastisement of sexual transgressions? How do these texts encode universal evolutionary psychological tendencies? The methodology is a qualitative analysis of 3 episodes from the Ramayana, and the framework is both dharmic tradition and evolutionary psychology. Now, the theological framework, the dharmic traditions, the core concept of Sanatana philosophy, which speaks about a universal human nature, moral order, rita, dharma, karma. Evolutionary psychology speaks about how, as in the case of evolution, we speak about how all living beings try to pass on their genes to the next generation, and natural selection favors individuals who pass on the largest proportion of their genes to future generations. In the case of Homo sapiens, this is in the case through sexual selection. And in the case of evolutionary psychology, there are 2 aspects which are very important: parental investment and sexual strategy theories. That is, men and women mate differently. Men and women have different parental investments. A woman invests more when she has children. A woman invests more into a relationship because she has a longer period of gestation. As far as a male is concerned, what is more important to him is that he is able to spread his genes as far as possible. So as far as parental investment theory is concerned, both male and female have different kinds of investments. Similarly, when we come to male and female mating strategies, the idea of cuckoldry becomes very important as far as a male is concerned, because a man wants his children to be looked after, not the children of another male. If you look at in the case of evolutionary psychology, one of the examples that is offered is in the case of living organisms like lions. When lions enter a pride, when one lion enters a pride, the first thing that he does is kill the cubs of the other of the lionesses there, so that he can pass on his genes. Now, this is a kind of evolutionary psychological strategy that is there even in human beings. Now, we come to the case study of Sita's trial by fire. When we talk about Sita's trial by fire, what is essential is that it is seen as a humiliation of a woman, and her banishment is seen as a form of patriarchal chastisement. But it overlooks two things: the dharmic framework within which the episode unfolds. Now, Rama is not a private individual who is acting on personal suspicion. He is a king. He is bound by his swadharma, which is Rajadharma. It requires that his queen is above reproach, and his rule reflects the moral will of the subjects. Similarly, as far as the evolutionary psychological model is concerned, female sexual fidelity is highly valued in long-term mating contexts, because violation will threaten parental investments of the male. The male concern in long-term mating is the fact that he is able to trust his spouse, and in honor-based societies, there is zero tolerance towards sexual transgression. So what you have here in this case is that Sita's ordeal shows her indispensability, not her disposability. Similarly, in the story of Ahalya, what you find is that her petrification, violates the dharmic concept of Satya. Now, when Satya is violated, you find that there will be a natural karma also alongside with it. Then, I will just move on to the conclusion. The conclusion shows how in all three cases, whether it is the case of Sita or Shurpanakha, or in the case of Ahilya, you find that I'm sorry, I'm unable to go. Yes, there is an equal moral standard which is also imposed on the male figure. There is also moral reciprocity, a shared accountability, and there is a possibility of renewal. Indra is also punished along with Ahilya, and in the case of Ahilya, it is not a constant punishment. Then she comes out of her petrification and she is received back into Gautama. As far as evolutionary psychology is concerned, it shows that this uncritical valorization of sexual permissiveness in modern thought, in modern feminist thought, is inadequate, because it does not really take into account the evolutionary psychology of long-term pair bonding. It does not align with the psychological mechanisms of attachment, trust, and parental investment. Now, this is what has been revealed in our mythological texts, because it gives us a paradigm which to follow. It shows how human minds think and have evolved, and it also shows us that there is a dharmic ideal of universal stability which underlies the patterns of human relationships. Thank you.
Namaste, ma'am. No questions, as it was nicely presented, and I have seen the references, and also those things are also good, and the psychology part is very good. See, I have no questions at all, and really good. Nice presentation.
Yeah, from my side also. But just to point out, like in the evolutionary psychology concept, you said no. So, how might the Agni Pariksha, that Siddha's trial by fire, be reinterpreted through the lens of paternity or saternity and the reproductive conflict, rather than just a moral judgment? It's a normal, but how you are reinterpreting that?
Ma'am,
You are wrong.
Agni Perisha is a kind of a public signal of sexual fidelity. It is serving as a paternity assurance mechanism, not an act of degradation, because female sexual fidelity is highly valued in these long-term mating contexts. And so, when you have the washerman's remark, say it reflects an underlying evolutionary reality. The evolutionary psychology says that the men who pay no attention to their female partner's behavior with other men are less likely to pass on their genes rather than people who pay closer attention. So the washerman says, I am not like Rama, who allows his wife to come back even after she has been with another man. So marriage provides a exclusive sexual access, and without this kind of exclusivity, paternity certainty becomes compromised. So this evolutionary psychology shows that this episode is not misogynistic punishment. It is a kind of it is in alignment with evolutionary evolved human psychology. This is a kind of parental investment and sexual fidelity that is expected out of a long-term relationship.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskar, ma'am. I have one more question for you. So you have mentioned about the Agni Pariksha. If we see the Ramayana, the Agni Pariksha cannot be seen as just a individual event related to Rama's life only, because the Agni Pariksha is happening on the social platform.
Yes.
When Sita came back from Lanka,
Yes.
and when she's going to enter into the Ayodhya, the Agni Pariksha will happen. So it is more sort of a social event. So how can we justify it by saying that it was about the evolutionary psychology, or it was not related to the patriarchal notions, because it was Ram who decided, who is deciding that Sita was pure or not, or although he wants to decide it for the benefit of herself only, but still the idea came that the general perception is that Rama is deciding the purity of Sita through this Agni Pariksha. So is it correct, or what is the right perception to see?
Here I'm not really offering a moral judgment for two things. I spoke about how one, there is what we have to see, whether it is in the Ramayana or in the Mahabharata, what we have to understand is that it is not only an individual who is presented, but it is a role also. For example, Amartya Sen, I'm sorry, I'm just deviating slightly. Amartya Sen speaks about how in the Mahabharata, we should take Arjuna's ideas into consideration when he says that no, I don't want to fight. The problem is that Krishna says fight not because he's against ahimsa or non-violence. It is because it is Arjuna's swadharma to fight. Similarly, here Krishna also has a dharma. Rama also has a dharma. His swadharma also is the Rajadharma. The Rajadharma states that his wife has to be above suspicion, because the next king should be of royal lineage. That is the first thing. The second aspect is whether it is a patriarchal notion, because he is the person who decides. Yeah, when you talk about evolutionary psychology, actually there are two sides to it. It is not only the male who decides, it is also the female. The female's idea of sexual selection is also different, because she looks for a person who is a long-term protector, who is a person who can take charge of the children, who takes care of the entire family. So when we come to the Shurpanaka episode, why is it that Shurpanaka is attracted to Rama? You have in the hunter forager societies the kind of physical attributes that would be more attractive in a male figure. So it is there in both the sexes. It is not only in the male or in the female. Both of them have different needs. Both of them have different parental investments. As far as the male is concerned, this is something that is very important to a male, to see to it that his genes are transmitted. And at no point, when we read the Ramayana, he himself Rama says that it is not only for me, it is so that I can prove to the entire public that you have been pure. That idea is what is being communicated. So we don't see it only as male as a male idea, because both men and women have demands of their mate. I've gone in briefly about the female demands in the case of Shurparna, which I have not presented, but it is there in my paper.
One more, not a question, but a comment on the Ahilya story. So, in the Ramayana, it is mentioned that Ahilya knows that the that person was Indra, and
Yes.
still she got attracted towards it. So, it is not it is not a patriarchal notion. It is like she still know that that was Indra, and still she attracted towards her
Yes.
towards him.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is the comment which I want to add on this.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? So we
I'll
move
ask the
forward.
students also to pose one or two questions. What are you learning from this seminar, and what are you writing down, and what are the points you're jotting down? Students, please respond. Like the participants also, please respond and ask any questions if you have. You have to participate. Please. I know that you have lots of questions in mind, and you can pose those questions here. This is the platform.
So from audience, anyone wants to ask questions, please raise hand. Yes, Shreya ji.
Hello, ma'am, Preeti ma'am. This was very nice. I loved this topic that you chose. It is something I am also very interested in, and I will definitely explore it myself too. So, one thing that I didn't fully understand is for you said honor, they both have different parental investments, and that is one of the justifications why, that is one of the reasons why we can understand what they did and how the story goes.
Yeah.
But you see, since it's a long term monogamous relationship, shouldn't the parental investment expectation also be different for the man? Like, I mean, I don't, yeah.
See, the parental investment theory, actually it's an earlier theory, 1972 actually. He says that I don't remember the name of the theorist. The theory actually states that, mating behavior, there is a sex difference in mating behavior. There is unequal biological investment in the offspring. So any kind of investment made by a parent in the offspring to ensure that that offspring will survive, that is called parental investment. So a woman knows that this is her child, so she will invest biologically, she will invest emotionally, she will invest her time and her energy. As far as a male is concerned, he has to be certain that this is his child. So females invest very heavily at the outset, gestation, childbirth, lactation. So they become very selective in their mate choice. Males have a limited biological investment, so they compete for females who can maximize their reproduction opportunities. So when you have biparental care is this kind of long-term relationship. Females become very competitive for men who will show this long-term investment. Similarly, as far as males are concerned, they will look for females who will ensure that it is their genes that is being carried forward. So you have the sexual asymmetry. Sexual selection, male competition. Then, as far as men are concerned, there is male guarding. There is also conflict between the sexes. Conflict between the sexes can exist both for men as well as for women. In the case of the Shurpanaka episode, there you have male guarding and also sexual conflict between two women. So all these shows that we all of us have this. All of us have a certain psychological response as far as our emotions and our mates are concerned, and these are actually realities. These are evolutionary realities which we must take into consideration. This idea of evolutionary psychology actually came about particularly because of this the modern tendencies of liberal feminism, which states that women can also have the same kind of sexual freedom as males. But it was found later in many studies that women tend to become dissatisfied with the kind of loose sexuality that was being practiced. No, there is no moral judgment that is being made. These are only studies. And when you look through evolutionary psychology, we understand why that is so, because eventually women look for certain patterns of behavior in their mates, whereas men look for other things.
Thank you,
I hope I
ma'am. That
answered your
helps.
question.
Yes, ma'am. That helps.
So we move forward. Our next participant is Ansh Rishi and Pragati Prerna.
Hello, good evening. May I present?
Ash. Ansh karo.
Yes, yes. Is my presentation visible?
एक second. Yeah, now it's visible. Yes. We'll start now. While most of us are familiar with Kamdev, the god of desire, Rati remains relatively unexplored in mainstream scholarship. Our presentation today argues that Rati is not merely Kamdev's consort, but an independent manifestation of Shakti, a cosmic feminine principle whose theological significance rivals that of her more famous husband. Rati as Shakti. Rati is seen as a yogini in goddess cosmology and a manifestation of Shakti. Yoginis denote autonomous, dynamic feminine energies governing specific cosmic functions. Her identification as yogini is supported by iconographic evidences such as figure named Rati at Chausit Yogini temple Bheraghat, whose sugarcane bow and floral arrow signify erotic cosmic power. She comes under the yogini category of Karneshwari. One such ritual is also seen in Bala Tripura Panchangam Balapatala, verse 27, where Rati is installed in the Vahni cone of the yantra, while Manobhava is expressed outside. Rati in Indic perspective, Kumara Sambhav. In modern Hindu interpretation, Rati may be viewed as an independent, liberated divine being. She expresses Iksha openly and actively shapes her destiny. Rati's independence is more than just social, it is meta. Indic narrative concerns with how desire exists, transforms, and survives within cosmic order. In other words, she does not break the idol of a devoted wife. She redefines devotion as active, intelligent, and erotically charged. Her fidelity is not sexual restraint, but erotic perseverance. Does Rati exist independently of Kama? The Indic answer is yes, but not autonomously. She exists in a symbiotic polarity with Kama, much like Shakti exists with Shaktiman. Yet Kalidas' narrative insists on a crucial asymmetry. Rati does not ontologically collapse when Kama disappears. Her grief itself becomes a mode of being, a form of rasa, and therefore of life. This reveals an Indic insight that love does not vanish when desire is thwarted, it transforms. Rati explained via Puranic and classical narratives. Puranic narrative, birth of Rati. Rati is introduced as daughter of Daksha after he is affected by Kamadev's arrow, and in order to control the desire, he sweats. Due to heat of desire from the sweat, Rati is born. Daksha then gives Rati to Kamdev, who, after seeing her beauty, is the target of its own arrow and experiences Rati Bhava. After Shiva annihilates Kama with his third eye fire, Rati laments the loss of her husband. When Shiva praises her austerity when she performs penances and grants her a boon, the tradition reads this not as a concession of feminine suffering, but as a recognition that Eros, when internalized, produces ascetic power. Rati, nurturer and consort, Bhagavatam. Rati reappears under the name of Mayavati. The dual role of Rati is as that of a nurturer of Kama and as a companion and wife is clearly established here. Upon recognizing Pradyumna as Kama reborn, she exhibits motherly affection towards him and nurtures him.
However, Pradyumna questions Rati as she approaches him on a conjugal partner seeking erotic union. This statement acknowledges the prior maternal role necessitated by circumstance and marks the transition back to their original conjugal identities. The episode affirms that Rati, as the stable and constant principle, dynamically adapts her role to preserve, mature, and activate calm, whose identity remains dependent on embodiment and readiness. Rati as epitome of female beauty. Rati is described via various verses in detail in various Puranas. She is shown as exceptionally beautiful, who is able to allure the god of desire himself. In Naisheda Charitam, Canto 21.133 and 135, Nala repeatedly compares Damayanti to Rati, grounding the comparison specifically in physical beauty and attractiveness. Thus, it is affirmed that Rati represents an aesthetic model of feminine beauty and physical perfection. Rati as a sthai bhava in rasa theory. In Kumara Sambhav Canto 4, Kalidas presents Rati not merely as a mythological figure but as a feminine principle of love, incarnating the enduring emotion substratum of Shringara Rasa. Through this portrayal, Kalidas aligns poetic narrative with classical rasa theory and philosophical conception of feminine principle which sustain emotional continuity while the masculine principle initiates activation. It is clarified. It is classified as a sthai bhava, a stable, enduring emotional state without which Shringaras cannot be manifested at all. Commentators such as Abhinav Gupta onwards note that Rati heads the list because it is the most generative rasa, giving the rise of other emotion, thus called the Rasaraja. Rati in folk and tantric traditions. In Himalayan and Tantric Shaiva lore, for instance, Rati can be evoked as Sri Kamambika, a goddess of sexual power supplementing the male god Kama. An important folk Tantric movement around Rati emerges in Assam also. The Rati Khoa, the worship of Rati sect, arising within the 16th-17th century. June McDaniels, a popular folk and Tantra researcher, described Rati Khoa as a folk Tantra, in which Rati's erotic energy was ritually celebrated. For instance, the Carnatic festival of Karadiyan Numbu, observed by married Hindu women, evokes Kamarati's blessing for conjugal happiness. Rati in Southeast Asian perspective. Rati's image underwent significant transformation and localization in Southeast Asia. The most famous adaptation is the Javanese Balinese goddess Devi Rati. In Bali and Java, Rati was syncretized with the moon goddess. Today, she is celebrated on each full moon, Purnima. A related Indonesian epic is the Samaradahana, the burning of desire. In this, Kakavin, Kamajaya, and his wife Kamarati are incinerated by Shiva's fire. Their souls are said to repeatedly incarnate among humans as lovers, symbolizing love, lust, desire, and the yearning suffered by the lovers of the earth. Notably, none of these Southeast Asian retelling focus on Rati's sexually per se. Instead, her story is allegorized as a cosmic love myth linked to the heavenly body. Yet the core theme remains the undying quest of the lovely wife for a beloved husband, manifesting across cultures as the archetype of devoted love. Conclusion. In conclusion, Rati emerges not as a subordinate shadow of Kamdev, but as the feminine principle, radiant core, independent in essence, complementary in union, and equivalent to cosmic authority. Historically and geographically, she evolves. Thus, reclaims her rank as Hinduism's architect of desire's divine rhythm, the irreducible feminine force, ensuring love's transformation, enduring eternity. Thank you.
Kindly put forward your questions, please.
Namaskar. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so you said the Rati's importance in the Tantra and the Tantra and all. Do we have find the evidences of Rati as a powerful figure in the Vedic corpus or in the Puranic studies as well, or what are the differentiation which we can trace in the Vedic corpus and the Puranic studies with the character Rati?
You want the question is referred that how it is she's found in Puranas, Vedas, and Tantra.
Yeah. So what is the
Uh,
basic differentiation which we can see?
So when we come to Tantra, she is a Shakti. She comes under the yoginis. She is worshipped in mandalas, where we have seen that Bala Yantra, in which she is one in the Vahini cone, and while Kamadev is outside. So the desire is mostly external, while the essence is internal. So the in Yantra the yantra functions from within to outside and from outside to inside. So when the world is created, the Shakti, which is Bala, manifests from within to the outside. That is why first she, the goddess, manifests as Rati, desire, manifests as Rati, and then she manifests outside as Kama or desire, and then the entire mandala is operating. And when we move towards spirituality, we control our desire, and we internalize that.
That I get it. No, no, no. That I get it. I
Mhm.
just want to know the differentiation which we can trace in the Vedic corpus, the Puranic studies. You have mentioned about the Tantra. That is okay.
Yeah.
But you have made a study on Rati, so I just want to know how you justify or how you trace the character of Rati in the Vedic corpus or in the Puranic literature as well.
In Vedic corpus, we were not able to find any immediate reference of Rati as such. In Puranas, however, we did. And while reading Puranas such as Kalika Puran, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, we found that Rati exhibit the concept of rasa theory as exhibited in Natya Shastra by Bharat Muni. So the entire concept of how Anubhava, Vibhava, Vyabhichari Bhav functions, that concept is built into a form of a story, and that is being represented in Puranas. For example, Kama Dahana, when it happens, so external desire is destroyed. However, Rati remains. So she becomes dormant, and she waits so that the external desire is again resurfaced, and thus she nurtures it, because if love is there, desire is a kind of fed by love. If there is no love, that kind of desire cannot be created. So she gives birth to love, and she gives birth to desire, and then she accompanies desire as thai bhava, and that relishment, which is an internal relishment, that happens. So after the Kama Dahana, the rebirth of Kamadev symbolizes that aspect. In the beginning, there is a story that Kamadev, when he shoots arrows, Rati is born. So, since Daksha is able to curtail his desire and he's not exhibiting it outside, but he has experienced it inside, so Rati is born. So, that internalization of desire gives birth to Rati. So, the concept of Natya Shastra becomes the story of Puranas. And in Tantra, the same goddess becomes the Devi herself, which is manifestation as Karneshwari, which is again the internalization of emotions.
Hello, Akshay ji, may I add if it is okay with you?
Do you want to answer it?
I will add on what my partner has added.
Yeah, sure.
The part that was not touched is the Vedic epistemology and how the concept of Rati is presented in the Vedas. So, as such, our research has not found any explicit mentions of Rati. हमने जो इमोशन संजोड़ा है ऑफ रति which is a manifestation of desire, internal desire, we can find in the Nasadiya Suktam, जैसे कामस्तदग्रे समवर्ततादि मनसो रेता प्रथम यदासीत. So in the beginning, the creation, the will to create was born in the mind and not outside the mind. So as my partner has already added, that the primordial desire, that is Rati, and Rati is the desire, it was born inside Prajapati, it was born inside Daksha, and then it manifested as an external pleasure seeking, you can say a device or an experience. In the earlier presentations around number 2 and 3, we also find the presenter talking explicitly about the Purush and Prakriti coming together to create such and such. My partner has also said that in the Natya Shastra, the theoretical framework of the Natya Shastra allows us to create only when all elements come together. And now the elements coming together in the Natya Shastra and the Sankhya philosophy are internalized and then created outwards, such as the Purush and Prakriti have to come together to create. Isolation mein creation cannot happen. This very primordial will to create or the creation is the embodification that is Rati. We have to understand that the Rati is a Devi, which is a manifestation of the will to create, the Ichha Shakti. जैसे माहेश्वर सूक्तम में है Anuttar Ichha Uttam. So the will to create or the wish to create is the very primordial, you can say, the manifestation of the goddess Rati. Thank you.
I just want to add that the Rati's evidence does not came from Puranic or the Tantric studies as well. It was somehow mentioned in the Vedic corpus as well, because the oldest evidences of Rati in very different forms came from the Vedas itself. है ना, बिकॉज क्रिएशन का अगर वहां पर मंडल में है जो नासादिया सूक्त हो या फिर जो 10वां मंडल हो, उसमें आप देखेंगे तो रति का वहां पर जो है वो रति का एम्बॉडीमेंट उस क्रिएशन में भी वहां पर दिखाई देता है. सो यू कैन एक्सप्लोर इट मोर फर्दर, राइट? थैंक यू सो मच.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you. Moving further, I would like to call Vanshika ji and Yashika ji for their presentation.
Can you please ask the admin to present the PPT? Yes. So good evening, everyone. I am Vanshika from Janki Devi Memorial College, along with Yashika from Dolatram College. And today we will be presenting our paper, Indic Feminism and the Limits of Universalism in the Western Feminist Theory. Can we move on to the next slide? So our paper begins with a simple question. Can one idea of feminism explain the lives of women everywhere? A lot of feminist thought has tried to build universal ideas of gender justice. But most of these ideas came from Euro-American societies and they were shaped by their own history and their own social structures. The problem is that they often assume that women across the world share the same kind of experience and that gender is always the main source of oppression. But in India, women's lives are also shaped by caste, kinship, religion, and community. So our argument begins here. When feminism is treated as universal, it can mix the complexity of a real social life. The next slide, please. So this becomes even more clearer when we look at some major Western feminist approaches. We have liberal feminism that focuses on rights, equalities, and individual freedom, male domination, and the post-structural feminism that questions fixed identities and shows that gender is socially shaped. These approaches are important, they are influential, but even then they often give central importance to individual, the public-private divide, or gender as the main axis of oppression. So our point is not to reject this universal framework. It is to say that they grow out of specific societies and therefore they cannot automatically explain every context in same way. The next slide. Yes, this is where the post-colonial critique becomes important. We have scholars like Chandra Talpade Mohanty. She pointed out that Western feminist writing often speaks about women in global South as if they're all the same, always oppressed, always silent, always waiting to be saved. And Spivak also raises a similar concern by asking who is actually speaking and who are they being spoken for. So this shifts the debate in an important way. The problem is not that universal feminism can be too broad. The problem is also that it can make some voices appear as theory while some as only examples or just data. So in that sense, universalism can hide the difference instead of understanding it. With that, I'll hand over to Yashika to further explain how Indic feminism responds to these limits.
Thank you, Vanshika. If universal framework, feminist framework do not fully explain the Indian context, then the question is what kind of framework does? This is where Indic feminism becomes important. It does not reject feminism, but argues that gender in India cannot be understood fully separately from caste, kinship, religion, and community. In other words, women experiences in India are shaped by not by gender alone, but by different ways of social structures work together. This is why scholars like Uma Chakravarti describe Brahminical patriarchy as a system where The control of women is closely tied to the preservation of caste. Similarly, B.R. Ambedkar shows that caste survives through control over marriage and women's sexuality, especially through endogamy. So, Indic feminism helps us see that gender oppression in India is a part of wider social structure. Next slide, please. Indic feminism also asks us to rethink the idea of agency. In many Western frameworks, agency is often understood as individual freedom or open resistance. But in Indian context, agency may not always appear in that form. Sometimes women negotiate power within family and social structures by creating space for themselves from within. So agency can also be relational and negotiated, not only individual. At the same time, this approach must remain critical. The lived realities of women, especially Dalit women, show that oppression is shaped by both caste and gender together. So, a context based framework is more useful when it does not romanticize tradition or ignore internal inequalities. Next slide, please. To conclude, our paper argues that Western feminist theory offers important insights, but its universal claims have clear limits when applied to a very different social context. Indic feminism offers an important response by grounding feminist theories in the lived realities of Indian society, where gender is deeply connected with caste, community, and social relations. At the same time, our argument is not that one framework should simply replace another. Rather, feminism needs to become more open to plurality, context, and difference. Ultimately, feminism becomes stronger when it does not speak over difference, but learns to think through it. Thank you.
Judges and audience, any questions?
Okay, so my question is to you, Yashikaji, that in the last you mentioned that contextualization is not the justification. So can you please give me examples, like how would you take that contextualization as the center point for the comparative analysis between the Indic idea of feminism and the Western concept and the universalization you talk about in your paper?
Please open your mic, Yashika ji.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat the question? I actually missed it. I'm so sorry.
I am asking that you mentioned in the last slide of your presentation that contextualization is not the justification. So I would like to understand that how the word contextualization stands a major point, or major point in when we do the comparative analysis of both the aspects, when we talk about Indian idea of feminism and when we talk about the Western concept of feminism.
See, by contextualization, we means that the theory is developed in the West and it's applied to the East. And it's like just the Western world and Eastern world are, you know, for example, there are several theories that say that women, I'm so sorry, just give me a minute. Let me just arrange things. Um, okay. तो बेसिकली कंटेक्चुअलाइजेशन मीन्स के वहां पे एक थ्योरी डेवलप हुई और उसको ऐसे ही करके यहाँ पे हमने अप्लाई कर दिया. सो वी आर जस्ट सेइंग कि अगर वेस्ट में ऐसा हो रहा है तो ईस्ट में भी ऐसा ही हो रहा है. सो बाय दैट बाय सेइंग दैट कंटेक्चुअलाइजेशन इज नॉट द जस्टिफिकेशन, आई मीन दैट कि जो थ्योरी वहां पे लाइक बिल्ड हुई है, वी कांट जस्ट अप्लाई इट हियर. So it's not the justification. We can't justify it like that. So for every society, there has to be a different theory. Like there has to be a theory that is seen while that is made while seeing the conditions of the society. For example, the conditions of the Western society is very different through Eastern society. Except वेस्टर्न सोसाइटी में कंडीशंस बहुत डिफरेंट है एंड ईस्टर्न सोसाइटी में दे आर टोटली डिफरेंट. Like we have a lot of things like a caste system and communities are different. We have a lot of religions in our country. So it's just that कि हम वहाँ की build हुई theories को हम यहाँ पे as it is नहीं like we can't apply it here as it is. So we need to build it, मतलब उसको हमें अपनी सोसाइटी के अकॉर्डिंग देख के ही अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. So that's the main thing the paper focuses on. So I hope it answers.
Actually, one more question regarding the same thing which you have said right now. You said कि हम लोग नहीं अब वो कर सकते हैं apply, right? So
Yes.
हमको apply नहीं करना चाहिए, but you have applied two same theories in the same paper. The first one is the Brahmanical patriarchy by Uma Chakravarti, and the second one is the that caste is the byproduct of the oppression of women. So these are two main constructs which came from that same reason, which you are critiquing on the basis of contextualizing. So how will you justify your contradiction?
Can you please repeat actually?
I just want to ask कि you have said कि हमको वेस्ट का आइडिया यहाँ पर अप्लाई नहीं करना चाहिए, राइट? उसके बाद भी आपने वो सेम पेपर में दो लोगों को कोट किया है. फर्स्ट वन इज उमा चक्रवर्ती ब्रह्मैनिकल पैट्रियार्की एंड सेकंड वन इज B.R. Ambedkar's कि the caste is the byproduct of oppression of women. So both these ideas came from the perspective of West only, the so-called colonial feminist historiography, and you are applying on those ideas on your paper as well. So how will you justify this contradiction? Because Brahmanical patriarchy and caste और caste framework ये कोई in-depth perspectives के ideas नहीं हैं.
But I think these are like Indian authors, and they have been like these things have been written while seeing all the conditions in India as well. Like at the time of independence, B.R. Ambedkar wrote this that caste is embedded in all the caste is embedded in India. So I think sure like I'm sorry, I just
No
actually
issue.
I thought
Please read more on that, because you have rightly mentioned about Dr. Ambedkar and Uma Chakrabarti. That's okay. But the historiographic background which they are following came from that same perspective of colonial and feminist historiography. So फिर वहां पर जिस चीज को आप प्रूव करना चाहते हैं, कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइजेशन ऑफ हिस्ट्री के चीज को, जिस पर कि कल हमारी चर्चा भी हो रही थी कि आप यूनिवर्सलाइज नहीं कर सकते किसी आइडिया को, वो पॉइंट आपका सही है, आप वो सही बात कहना चाहते हैं. बट जिन सोर्सेस को फिर आप यूज कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज दे ऑल्सो हैव यूज द सेम थिंग, वो फिर उसी कॉन्सेप्चुलाइजेशन में वो फिट नहीं हो पाता है, राइट? तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा और स्टडी किया जा सकता है. जी,
I'll definitely read. Thank you so
ऑल
much.
द बेस्ट.
Thank you. Further moving, I would like to call Mimansa ji and Nandini ji for presenting.
Am I audible or the screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be bilingual. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः. नमस्कार, मैं मीमांसा त्रिपाठी अपनी सहलेखिका नंदिनी जी के साथ हमारा शोध पत्र जो है रिक्लेमिंग शक्ति डिवाइन फेमिनाइन पावर फ्रॉम गॉडेसेस टू हिस्टोरिकल वॉरियर्स ऑफ इंडिया प्रस्तुत करने जा रहे हैं. भारतीय परंपरा में शक्ति को सृष्टि की मूल ऊर्जा माना गया है, जो सृजन, संरक्षण और संहार तीनों का आधार है. शक्ति का अर्थ केवल बल नहीं, बल्कि यह संतुलन, धैर्य और निर्णय लेने की क्षमता का भी प्रतीक है. यह एक ऐसी ऊर्जा है जो परिस्थितियों के अनुसार अपना स्वरूप बदलती है, कभी कोमल और सृजनात्मक तो कभी प्रचंड और निर्णायक. 3 मुख्य प्रश्न हैं. क्या शक्ति की अवधारणा पश्चिमी नारीवाद से पहले से ही विद्यमान थी और यह उससे किस प्रकार भिन्न है? भारतीय ऐतिहासिक संदर्भों में महिलाओं ने शक्ति को अपने कार्यों और निर्णयों के माध्यम से किस प्रकार अभिव्यक्त किया है? वर्तमान समय में शक्ति की अवधारणा महिलाओं को सशक्तिकरण में किस प्रकार प्रासंगिक बनी हुई? अगर हम कार्य प्रणाली देखें तो गुणात्मक और तुलनात्मक का प्रयोग किया गया है। इसके अध्ययन के लिए अंतर्गत प्रमुख रूप से पौराणिक ग्रंथ जैसे रामायण, महाभारत तथा दुर्गा सप्तशती के कुछ अंशों का अध्ययन किया गया है और इस शोध में तुलनात्मक दृष्टिकोण अपनाया गया है, जिसके माध्यम से पश्चिमी नारीवाद और भारतीय नारीवाद का चिंतन के बीच में अंतर समझने का प्रयास किया गया है। अगर हम परिणाम की तरफ बढ़ें तो सरस्वती, हम ऐसा कहा जाता है कि जो महिलाएं होती हैं वो पुरुषों की तुलना में शारीरिक रूप से कमजोर होती हैं, परंतु पुरुषों को भी बौद्धिक विकास के लिए देवी के सामने ही सर झुकाना पड़ता है और हम सब जानते हैं कि बिना बौद्धिक विकास के शारीरिक क्षमता किसी काम की नहीं होती है। द्रौपदी एक सबसे बड़ा उदाहरण है भारतीय नारीवाद में, जिसने अन्याय होने के बावजूद भी उसी सभा में खड़े होकर सबसे प्रश्न किया, जिसने न केवल वह दृश्य देखा ही बल्कि उसको रोकने की कोशिश भी न की। सीता, जो कि ना केवल पतिव्रता होने का उदाहरण है बल्कि यह भी उदाहरण है जहां आज के युग में दिखाया जाता है कि एक सिंगल मदर फाइनेंशियल एड के लिए डिपेंडेंट हो जाती है अपने हस्बैंड्स पे या फिर उनकी फैमिली पे, बट सीता ने उस समय में भी अपने दोनों बच्चों का पालन पोषण बहुत अच्छे से किया और हम ये नहीं भूल सकते कि रावण के पूरे साम्राज्य में अकेले होने के बावजूद भी उन्होंने तृण के बलबूते पे अपने सम्मान को बचाए रखा। कामाख्या देवी एक ऐसी शक्ति और एक ऐसा उदाहरण जो कि ये निश्चित करती हैं कि हमारे वेदों, ग्रंथों और पुराणों में कभी भी मासिक धर्म के दौरान स्त्रियों को अपवित्र नहीं माना गया है। माँ दुर्गा, ऐसा ऋग्वेद में कहा गया है, आई एम द क्वीन, द यूनाइटर ऑफ वेल्थ, सस्टेनिंग द मल्टीट्यूड ऑफ बीइंग्स एवरीवेयर। माँ काली, जो अगर क्रोधित हो जाएं तो भगवान शिव को ही उन्हें शांत कराने आने पड़ता है। और अकॉर्डिंग टू मी इंडियन फेमिनिज्म में ऐसा देखा गया है कि हमें पावर पाने की कभी जरूरत पड़ी नहीं है, वो हमारे अंदर खुद ही है। देवियों ने भी ये कहा है कि नेवर नेगोशिएट विद योर सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट, and feminism is all about that, never negotiate with your self respect, is never about to degrade men। अगला पार्ट नंदिनी जी प्रस्तुत करेंगी।
नमस्कार सभी को, मेरा नाम नंदिनी है। मैं संस्कृत ऑनर्स की द्वितीय वर्ष की छात्रा हूँ रामजस कॉलेज से। तो मैं भारतीय वीरांगनाओं के माध्यम से आपको ये बताना चाहूँगी कि भारतीय नारीवाद क्या होता है। तो पहले मैं एक श्लोक से शुरुआत करना चाहूँगी। दाने तपसी शौर्ये च विज्ञाने विनये नये विस्मयो न हि कर्तव्यो बहुरत्ना वसुंधरा। अर्थात दान, तपस्या, वीरता, विज्ञान और नीति में आश्चर्य नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि यह पृथ्वी यानी जो हमारी भारत माता है, उन्होंने ऐसे अनेक वीरांगनाओं को, वीर पुत्रियों को हमें हमारे देश में लाया है, जिन्होंने ऐसे आश्चर्यजनक कार्य किए हैं जो बहुत ही आश्चर्य करने योग्य हैं। तो जैसे हम स्टार्ट करना चाहेंगे पन्नाधाई से। तो जो पन्नाधाई हैं, उनका जो बलिदान है वो इतिहास के मार्मिक उदाहरणों में से एक है, क्योंकि कोई भी एक स्त्री जिसके अंदर इतनी करुणा और इतनी ममता भरी है, वो अपने पुत्र का वध अपने आंखों के सामने होते हुए नहीं देख सकती है, लेकिन फिर भी उन्होंने मेवाड़ के राजकुमार के उत्तराधिकारी से अपने पुत्र को बदलकर अपने राज्य की, अपने देश को सर्वोपरि रखने का पूरा प्रयास किया और उन्होंने अपने देश के लिए अपने पुत्र की आहुति दी। आगे हम बात करेंगे रानी तपस्विनी की, जिन्होंने अपनी अस्मिता को छुपा के, अपनी पहचान को छुपा के एक साध्वी का वेश धारण करके उन्होंने विद्रोह संगठित किया था। उनका जीवन यह दर्शाता है कि एक स्त्री के अंदर कितनी बुद्धिमत्ता होती है। वो मतलब उनके अंदर ऐसी रणनीतियां थी, वो इतनी कुशल थी कि वो अपने राज्य को, अपने देश को सकुशल चलाने में सामर्थ्यवान थी। रानी गैदनिलू की बात करें तो उन्होंने 13 वर्ष की आयु में ही अपने नागा संस्कृति को बचाने के लिए अंग्रेजों के विरुद्ध लंबा संघर्ष किया था। उनका नेतृत्व और साहस यह सिद्ध करता है कि शक्ति कभी भी उम्र या परिस्थिति की मोहताज नहीं होती। किसी भी स्थिति को देखते हुए, परिस्थिति को देखते हुए एक स्त्री के अंदर जो शक्ति होती है वो कभी डगमगाती नहीं है। और अगर हम बात करें रानी पद्मिनी की, उन्होंने भी अपने आत्मसम्मान की रक्षा के लिए अपने प्राणों की आहुति दे दी थी। अगर हम बात करें रानी दुर्गा भाभी की, उन्होंने भगत सिंह के साथ मिलकर स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में अपनी सक्रिय भूमिका निभाई थी। उन्होंने साहसपूर्वक ब्रिटिश शासन का विरोध भी किया था। वर्तमान संदर्भ में अगर हम बात करें कि इन पौराणिक रूपों के माध्यम से यह स्पष्ट हो जाता है कि शक्ति आज भी प्रासंगिक है। शक्ति पुरुष के अंदर भी है, स्त्री के अंदर भी है। यह केवल देवी देवताओं तक सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि हर महिला के भीतर विद्यमान है, जो उसे अपने जीवन में सही निर्णय लेने और चुनौतियों का सामना करने की प्रेरणा देती है। अगर आप मेरे अनुसार आप अगर मेरी बातों को माने तो मेरे अकॉर्डिंग जो वेस्टर्न फेमिनिज्म है, उनसे हमें प्रेरणा लेने की ज़रूरत तो नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारे पास खुद इतने सारे ग्रंथ हैं, इतने वेद हैं, जिसमें हमें स्त्रियों की चर्चा मिलती है। नारीवाद का अर्थ पुरुषों को नीचा दिखाना नहीं, अपितु समानता के अधिकारों की बात करनी है तथा अपने अधिकारों का पालन करना है। हमने अपने कार्यों का जो निश्चय स्वयं करने की क्षमता हमारे अंदर है। हम हमारे कार्यों पे हमारे कार्यों पे प्रश्न नहीं चाहिए। बहुत सारे ऐसे पुरुष होते हैं जो आके टिप्पणी किया करते हैं कि नहीं, ये कार्य करने में ये स्त्री समर्थ नहीं है, इनके अंदर इतना बल नहीं होता। तो हर चीज़ में हमें समानता नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि हमारा अधिकार क्या है। पौराणिक काल से लेकर आधुनिक युग तक स्त्रियों ने सारे कार्य किए हैं, और निश्चित रूप से उन्होंने जितने भी कार्य किए वो सुव्यवस्थित ढंग से सफल भी रहे हैं। आज जो हम ये सेशन करवा रहे हैं या हम एक शोध पत्र लिख रहे हैं नारीवाद पे, मुझे नहीं लगता कि इस विषय को यहाँ लाना पड़ता अगर पुरुष लोग या जितने भी समाज में लोग हैं वो सब एक साथ मिलकर स्त्री का सहयोग करते हैं और उनके लिए चुनौती नहीं बनते हैं, एक दूसरे के साथ मतलब कार्यों का सम्मान करते हैं,
टाइम
ना
इज
कि
अप।
नीचा दिखाते। धन्यवाद।
एनी क्वेश्चंस? ऑडियंस में से कोई पूछना चाहता है? So we move forward. Next is Shivanya Verma ji. Are you here? Shivanya Verma ji.
आप नेक्स्ट करिए, उनको हम पूछते हैं।
जी, सो नेक्स्ट है पूर्वी श्रृंगला जी और परी रस्तोगी।
हाँ जी, एक सेकेंड। Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Namaste and good evening. I, Pariras Togi, and my teammate Purvi Singla are presenting our paper titled Revisiting Feminism, an IKS Perspective, where we explore feminism through both Western and Indian perspectives. Let us begin with a Sanskrit verse that beautifully captures the essence of our theme, that all knowledge and all women are manifestations of divine feminine. This idea introduces us to the concept of Shakti, which lies at the heart of Indian philosophical thought. This paper is divided in two parts. The first part explores feminism through Eurocentric lens and how it shapes our understanding today. Second, it examines the Indian context where feminine power is worshipped, yet women's autonomy is often restricted. This raises key question: is the goddess only symbolic? The paper then revisits Indian philosophy to present a more culturally rooted understanding of feminism. Let us begin by understanding the term feminism. It carries different meanings across contexts. It comes from French word called féministe and broadly refers to equal rights for women. Historically, it emerged from movements in Europe and United States, especially for women's right to vote. But today, its meaning goes far beyond just legal rights. Feminism in Western countries is often understood in waves. The first focused on legal rights like voting, the second on social issues and workplace inequality, and the third on diversity and intersectionality. Over time, it has evolved into a more inclusive and ongoing conversation. While Western feminism focuses on justice, equality, and changing social structures, as we just saw, Indian feminism shares these goals. But it is shaped by its own cultural and social context. Though influenced by Western thought, it develops its own approaches in India. Feminism is not just about opposition, but also about reinterpreting traditions, making the discourse more complex. Indian feminism is shaped by multiple factors like caste,
class, religion, and region, making it way more complex. For example, the experiences of a Dalit disabled woman can be very different from that of an upper caste woman. Religion in Western feminism usually opposes it, while in India it plays a dual role. On one hand, it celebrates feminine power through ideas like Shakti, but on the other hand, its social practices can sometimes restrict women's autonomy. So in India, feminism is not one single idea but a layered and context based experience. In recent time, feminism has been shaped by digital movements like Me Too, which have empowered women to share their experiences and brought these issues into public discourse. However, social media has also led to oversimplification and the rise of pseudo feminism. Alongside this, opposing narratives have grown, creating polarization. As a result, feminism today is both empowering and contested, especially for younger audiences. Talking about younger audiences, today a key challenge is growing divide between men and women, especially amongst Gen Zs. Many young men feel disconnected from feminism, often influenced by the manosphere and online content that critiques it. At the same time, young women are exposed to extreme ideas of empowerment. This creates separate narratives, leading to misunderstandings and mistrust, making dialogue and balance harder to achieve. Modern feminist discourse in India has been vital in challenging inequality and patriarchal norms while pushing for reform. However, it often doesn't fully capture India's cultural complexity, where religion and tradition shape daily life. This creates a paradox, a society that reveres Shakti yet marginalizes women. By reinterpreting traditions, Shakti can be seen as a source of power, offering a more rooted understanding of feminism. Now, I would like to pass it on to Purvi, my teammate.
Namaste everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now we shift the discourse discussing about our own Indian ideals and the Indic perspective of feminism. And what defines our Indian idea of feminism is Ma Shakti. Shakti, simply meaning power, has been embodied with female attributes in our culture. And this power is manifested in different ways. It is visible in various aspects. It is Shakti in various forms. First comes the power of intelligence. This is in Vedic times. We find female rishikas. Their power of reason and questioning can be surprising and startling to the readers today. Here we see Maitri, a Brahmavadini, gently asking questions about life to her husband Yajnavalkya. Her curiosity shows her pursuit of knowledge. Further, we have Sulabha, a scholar from Mahabharata, who confronts King Janaka on being distracted during a discussion. She shows that enlightenment and true knowledge has no gender. Next, we have the most familiar figures whom we worship daily, but we don't really relate to them or learn from them. Our goddesses, Ma Saraswati, Ma Lakshmi, Ma Kali. Ma Saraswati, being the goddess of knowledge, represents power and intelligence from which organized creation proceeds by Brahma. Lakshmi is seen as the goddess of wealth and prosperity. Her four hands signify her power to grant the four purushas: dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. Kali, often seen as a destructing force, has her two hands in Abhay Mudra and Varada Mudra, showing that she is granting boons to her children, as she is also a mother. These Devis are true symbols of power of feminism, but they are not, and they are not
Time is up.
entities, but ideas. Okay. Further is the concept of marriage and the
Purviji, time is up.
Okay, so let me conclude. So we, in this paper, basically, we call for a resurgence and the need of today for the idea of feminism to be revisited or revised for the betterment of tomorrow. Thank you.
Any questions from judges and audience? Ji, Prachi ji.
So my question is from Pariji. As she quoted, I wanted to ask you, said that Indian feminism is impacted by Western ideas and then it develops new approaches to it. But I think Indian feminism is independent. It is not directly impacted from the Western ideas. It is independent. It develops its own perspective. Like from ancient times, our understanding can be influenced, but not the actual idea of feminism. How do you justify that?
Thank you, Prachi ji, for the question. The reason why I used this term, that Indian idea of feminism is influenced, or at least it has shaped our understandings, is because I was writing in today's context. In the time of globalization, nothing is, you know, set in a particular country. We share opinions as well across borders now. So when Western feminism thoughts like social media is called the Me Too movement, etc., are called the fourth wave of feminism. So these sort of movements may not be super relevant in India, but the emergence of these movements and the opinions shared by people in the Western nations influence our generation, especially the current generation. So because of that, we will have to take into account their opinions as well. We cannot say that only the idea of Shakti has influenced us, because while it is culturally significant, we also need to take in account the actual realities and practicalities of the times. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay, so moving forward, I would like to call Varnika ji and Diksha ji for presenting.
Good evening, honorable panel, Dr. Indira Malapaka ma'am, Dr. Nair ma'am, and Shri Akshit Kumar Bhadoria ji, the moderator. Today, I, Diksha Sayer, along with Varnika Nayanji, we are presenting on the topic Shakti and ecofeminism, an Indic perspective to realize sustainable living. So, to start this, Shakti is the cosmic life sustaining energy present in all existence. It comprises of balance, creation, and sustainability. So, our research paper, it explores ancient Indian systems can provide us a solution to the modern ecological crisis in the form of climate change and ecological degradation we see today, which is threatening both human existence as well as nature. We see across cultures that nature has been that mother nature, yet it continues to be exploited just like women in patriarchal systems. So the key problem we address is the interconnected nature, leading to a term known as ecofeminism, which was proposed first in the West deeply embedded in the Indian knowledge systems of ancient times. Therefore, the central question which arises is, can the Indian idea of Shakti provide a holistic and sustainable framework as compared to Western ecofeminism? Please change the slide. To explore this further, our paper adopts a research-based interpretive methodology. Before linking women and nature, we examine the condition of women in the Vedic times through lens of Shakuntala Rao Shastri, who has written about the relative equality between men and women in the Rigvedic times, where they equally distributed household work, rituals, and along with that intellectual equality in the form of equal right of Vedic education and Upnayan Sanskar. Along with that, we see the mention of Yajna marriage in the Rig Veda as we speak. Secondly, please next. Secondly, in the Indic worldview of nature, we examine the shlokas of Bhumi Sutta and Atharva, where has River not just but a mother who sustains. Along with that, she provides us with food, medicine, shelter, and prosperity. The mother of the sea explains the ultimate that we all mother Earth just like that, not exploitation. The word Shakti as concept it has a pose, and this can be cited through the verse from Devi Mahatmya, which tells that Shakti, she is not just a goddess but a cosmic energy. For this, the shlok is Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu bhuteshu rupeni sansita namastasya 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 namo namo. But after the industrial revolution, we see that nature is being treated as a commodity and it is being exploited just like the women. In contrast to this, Indic worldview sees nature as Shakti. It is sacred. So if Shakti is in danger, then all life forms are in danger. So we have seen that there was danger to Bhudevi, who was taken to the seabed deep in the ocean by Hiranyakashipu. So it was dangerous to all life forms. And it's also reflected in other ways, like rivers like Ganga and Yamuna are treated as mothers. Sita and Draupadi, we see Sita was born through earth and Draupadi from natural forces like Agni. Then we see convergence of Shakti and ecofeminism. So Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Prithivya Namo Mata Prithivya. This is a verse from Atharvaveda which reflects reverence for earth as a mother. Moreover, we see that exploiting nature ultimately means harming the very source of life. And Vandana Shiva has also written that abuse of earth is the ecological crisis. And we see that according to Advaita Vedanta philosophy by Adi Shankaracharya ji, Shakti and Prakriti, they are not Dvait, they are Advait, that is non-dual. So Shakti exists in both male and females as we have seen in Ardhanarishwar Avatar. It represents equality and balance between the two. So neither gender could dominate and we must work together to avoid exploitation of nature and promote mutual empowerment. As you may know.
Moving on to the key findings of this paper, these key findings are spread across multiple sections of our paper, which are as follows. First, in Indic worldview of nature, we found that nature is not just a resource. It is like a living mother or mother earth, or as we say, Dharti Mata. Secondly, in Shakti as ecological consciousness, we found that Shakti is the primordial energy which is the basis of all life forms. Thus, there is a connection between human nature and cosmos. Thirdly, in Shakti as ecological, in convergence of Shakti and ecofeminism, we found out that the Western feminism is largely reactive, while Indic perspective is very much embedded in our daily lives. Moving on to the fourth, that Shakti as sustainable living, we found that the ideas, or we identified that the ideas of Indian knowledge systems such as Prithvi, Prakriti, Purusha, Dharma, Aparigraha are not just theoretical, they are very much visible in the real life movements, such as Chipko movement, where women were flag bearers, and Gora Devi, as seen in the left page in the image, she was the leader of this movement. Please turn to the next pages. Yes. Yes, as you can see, Gora Devi was the leader of this movement along with other women. She played a very phenomenal role. Please move to the next pages. And this Indic perspective was also reflected in the sacred forest, women's role in the sacred forest of the Meghalaya. And please turn to the next page. And it is also highlighted or reflected in these three Tollywood films. So yes, moving on to the critical analysis. This framework is not free from limitations. There is risk of romanticization of women's connection with nature, where women are often seen as natural protectors. This overburdens them.
Time is
And
up.
okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Varnika, have you seen these movies, all the three you gave from the Tollywood? Like, do you have any idea, like, what these movies talk about or something like that?
Yes, ma'am. These
Yes,
three
ma'am. These three.
Tollywood movies highlight the women role in ecological movements and how their life shape the ecological perspective of real world. Like in
Then
this
you have to
second movie,
remove the first movie, ma. Then you have to remove the first movie, the Padharila Vaisu, because it is completely a movie that based on the adolescence and all these things, like the confusions and all. It's not related to ecology at all, okay? So there might be a point where you compare with the papayas and all those other things. See the picturization and all backgrounds and all we leave, but I do hope like you have to see that again. So
Ma'am,
yeah.
in this first movie, there is no direct connection between women and nature, which is seen, but there is indirect comparables. Because when as you said, that she was struggling her life, this was, directly comparable to the struggle which women face and how ecology is facing. This was the basic
I don't think
perspective
so.
with which we
I don't
took
think
it.
so. If I have to justify this, I need to tell you the story. So I don't want to. But seriously, other two okay. See, the societal issues and all are okay, but environment is not included in this. That's what. Otherwise, you can just see once again and you can review the paper. It's not like
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
giving you some negative points or something for that. I really like the paper because you have added ecofeminism, a new perspective in this. I don't have a problem with it. But only the thing is that when I saw the movie, this thing and all, I know the story. Since I'm from a Telugu background, I'm a Telugu lady, so that is a Telugu movie. So I have seen that movie multiple times, right from my childhood and all. So no, not an issue. But only thing is that it is not completely related. That's only the point. Other two, I'm not questioning at all. That's okay. But the
Yes, ma'am.
Chipko
We will
movement
look
and
into
all
it.
the other things you have mentioned are perfect to the theme. But not these movies. Just remove the movie part or something. That's okay. Only the pictures you have to remove now. So it gives a different this thing. The struggles are there. That is, कोई धोखा देता है वो चले जाता है वो उसके साथ हम environment को connect नहीं कर सकते. So that is the
Ma'am,
storyline.
we were,
So no
yes, ma'am.
issues.
We
You
were
can just remove the
basically trying
yeah.
to.
You can do that. You can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, जी नंदिनी जी. जी नंदिनी जी, आप पूछ सकते हैं क्वेश्चंस. Nandini ji, you want to say something?
If you have any question, you can ask. Open your mic and ask.
Okay, now am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Niharika ji. Thank you, Akshaya. My question was that is it making divine Shakti, that part of this metaphysical Shakti, is it helping or powerful for a woman or not? By powerful, I mean in the sense of education, literacy rate, or access to opportunities. If you're making it divine, is it helping or not? In the current rate, not just in a history, but in the present sense, if we talk, so please explain that part because if we talk about ecofeminism, that statement refers to.
Yes, Nandini. Start about making this concept a divine, right? Divine
Yes.
thing. Like when I was explaining, so I was also explaining that Shakti एक ऐसी चीज है. She is not only referred to as a goddess. She is also considered as power, and as I had mentioned about the condition of women in ancient times. So, as you are saying about literacy and the opportunities, so I would like to say that Shakti is present in each and every individual being, and this power, irrespective of the conditions around. If we have seen in the ancient times, women were given opportunities as equal to men in education, in performing other rights as well. So, Shakti present in individual being, not relating it to divine, because goddess में तो we have Shakti, we see अर्धनारीश्वर अवतार, उसमें भी शक्ति है. हम हमारे खुद में everything has Shakti and we are capable of doing everything. So literacy rate, सारी चीजें, it will depend on the power existing inside us and we are capable of doing that.
Okay, thank you. But I'm asking the same question, just a little twisted. You told me about, or all of us, about past sentence here. I'm asking about in the sense of presence, because now we are in a meeting, we are almost collecting the same thing. We are making a new bridge that we need to make as this generation. So I'm asking, if we are making it divine in a long term, how it will help us to grow and grow our culture as well.
Yes,
Like
your
a
voice is
devi-
introduced. Let me conclude the question in a single line. She just wants to know the social implications of Shakti in the present context.
social. Okay. So as I've told, ki Shakti is all around in all forms, and its social implications if we see. So Shakti, as I told, ki yeah, connecting it to the major topic, ecofeminism as well, ki Shakti and Prakriti are related, and environmental and social impact if I talk about. So we are all existing in Prakriti, and damaging both would actually damage the environment and also cause a social impact, because when environment is damaged, economy is damaged, the whole society won't be able to survive as well. So if social implication is directly dependent on the presence of Shakti, this is what I want to say.
So we move forward. Our last presentation of today, Shivanya Verma Didi.
I hope I'm visible and audible.
Yes.
Okay, wait, I'll just share my screen. Okay, I would be sharing the entire screen because I'm not able to share the PPT. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, it is. We can continue.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's begin. शक्त्यावस्था प्रविष्टस्य निविभागेन भावना तदासु शिवरूपी स्यात् शैवीमुखमिहोच्यते यथा लोकेन दीपस्य किरणे भास्करस्य च ज्ञायते दिग्विभागादि तत्यक्षक्ता शिवः प्रिय. Namaste everyone. Today as Shivanya Verma, I am going to be presenting my paper titled Rethinking Feminism from the Lens of Indian Philosophy, a case study of the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. These verses that I have recited just now are from the Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, and they basically mean that just the same way that the sun's rays are not different from the sun, in the same way Shakti is not different from Shiv. And the way we need the sun to contemplate the world, we need Shakti to realize Shiv. Let us quickly go through the research question. So, feminism in its centrality has been concerned with the question of subjectivity. Subjectivity means having agency, having the authority to make decisions, having autonomy, while the framework of Tantra, on the other hand, places that subjectivity as an inherent quality and something which has to be recognized. So, this paper is going to be analyzing Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, and we will be seeing if Tantra can be seen as feminist or rather propose a rethinking of feminism from the lens of Indian philosophy. So the methodology is simple. It's a triadic structure. First, we look at Trika Shaivism, then we look at Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, and then we briefly touch upon early medieval India, especially Kashmir, to see if this metaphysical equality is being translated into practicalities. So why I have chosen Vigyan Bhairav Tantra? It explores the paradigms of Shakti, as I'll be explaining later. It was developed in an environment which was itself heterodox, and it gives an example of union of Shiv and Shakti, not just detached union. Let us understand Trika Shaivism first. So it emerges in the between 8th and 11th century CE in Kashmir, and it focuses on non-duality. It has a triadic structure, that is why it's called Trika Shaivism: Shiv, Shakti, and Nar, Prakash, Vimarsh, and Anand, and Para, and Apara. So Para is the universal consciousness. Para is the intermediate link between the universal consciousness and the material world, and Apara is the material world. So, in contrast to Advait Vedant and Patanjali Yoga, Advait Vedant sees the world as Maya, and Patanjali Yoga wants to attain self realization through Kaivalya, which is the isolation of Purush and Prakriti. But Trika Shaivism emphasizes integration and not withdrawal. It has the concept of pratyabhigya, which is recognition that this world is expanded consciousness, and it includes mudras, asanas, and even erotic experiences if they are free from indulgence.
So there is this concept of Shiva, pure consciousness, and Shakti, which is the dynamic force enabling manifestation. Now let us move on to Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. So it signifies the journey of realizing awakened consciousness or Bhairav as pure Vigyan. Bhairav is beyond time, space, direction, and conceptual thought and can be achieved through Nirvikalp Vigyan, which is non conceptual awareness. So, our focus here is to move from thought dichotomies to non conceptual awareness. Now, if we look at this level, then we cannot find such distinctions such as male and female, and these gender binaries collapse. Now, let us connect our topic to the theme of this presentation, which is Indian idea of feminism. So why I have chosen Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is because Parvati here is seeking the ways to reach this transcendental bliss. Parvati is the seeker. She is asking questions from Shiva and he is replying to her in 112 dharnas or techniques. Shakti is the dynamic force. So the meditation that is being done, the rituals that are being done, the contemplation that is being done, all of this is Shakti, the dynamic force. So one can argue that in order to achieve Bhairav, you have to become Bhairavi yourself, which is the non-dual transcendental awareness. The questions of the questions of Parvati. So in these verses, we see that Shakti is only asking these questions because of Shiva's quality of anugraha, which is grace, which makes transcendental truths accessible to human understanding. In verses 2 to 4, she asks several questions: whether Bhairava is the integral unity of Shiv Shakti and Nar, whether Bhairava operates through three Shaktis, Para, Parapara, and Apara, if ultimate reality is fundamentally consciousness expressed as sound, if the essence of Bhairava lies in Nad Bindu, whether the nature of Bhairava is revealed through progressively more subtle stages of consciousness, whether Bhairav exists in Anahad Nad, the unstruck spontaneous vibration, whether the Supreme is absolute energy that transcends all distinction and is pure unchanging Shakti. Now, Bhairav replies through 112 dharnas. So, Shakti is not auxiliary to liberation, she is the very constitute of it. There are 4 types of techniques here: Anav, Shakt, Sambhav, and Anupai. And these methods include postures, mudras, Kundalini awakening, mantra, and devotion, and deep interiorization in the heart of the Supreme. The main goal is to merge the individual mind into universal consciousness and achieve the state of void, which is Shunya. But it is not being, it is the very seat of creation. A lot of dharnas are described in which very simple techniques are being applied. Dharana 60 shows us that even in mundane expressions like gentle rocking or swaying of the body while traveling, we can achieve divine peace and joy. Om is associated with navel, heart, and mouth to Bindu and finally culminates in Unman, the supreme Shakti, which is beyond mind and time. And with the dissolution of dualistic thought constructs, we can enter the middle state. The cycle of breath stops through Bhairavi, which appears as a pause of both Pran and Apan, and the condition of Bhairava, pure non-dual awareness, emerges on its own. So here we can see that even though Shakti is not speaking in these verses, she is still the very force used to achieve this bliss. Now we look at early medieval women in India. So a lot of scholars have, I will quickly touch upon this, that we have there are a lot of sources which can help us understand that in early medieval India, especially in early medieval Kashmir, women were negotiating their agency throughout. For example, Kashmiri queens like Sugandha and Dida had issued coins, though they bear the royal epithets as Deva and not Devi. In private life, we see that in some instances sati was being encouraged, but Harsh Charit of Ban Bhatt and North Indian inscriptions suggest that women were expected to live for their family. We can also see that common women have also commissioned works through different sources like inscriptions, and Ban Bhatt mentions the presence of numerous attendants, many of slave origin, and vet nurses who played a crucial role in childcare and training the next generation. So what I have found through this paper is that, first of all, the idea of feminism and subjectivity in Tantra, we can see that it is transcending.
Time is up.
Okay, can I just conclude this in one second? In early medieval India, we see that even though patriarchy is present, but women are still negotiating their position, so we cannot see them as passive. Thank you. If there are any questions, please feel free.
Any questions from our judges? or audience? Okay, thank you, Shivanya Verma ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One question from my side if nobody is asking. Okay. So it's my moral duty to ask a question. I just want to ask one question regarding that so many papers today talk about the Tantra, or you are talking about the Gyan Bharat Tantra, that is okay. But if we analyze in ancient times or in the early medieval period as well, can we say that the Shakti concept, which is related to the Tantra, is more sort of very confined towards the. Matlab, it's like we are not totally carrying forward the concept of Shakti, because if we relate it to only to the Tantra, so we will not justify the concept of Shakti with with the mentioning in the other sources as well. So, I want to ask this question from you that does we find any connection between the Tantra form of Shakti and the Puranic form of Shakti? Or what type of visual or literary representations which we can see the similarities or the dissimilarities in these two textual traditions?
I will try my best to answer this question as I have limited knowledge on the Puranic traditions. I have done this case study on Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, but still I will try my best. So, as far as similarities are seen, I think that Shakti is being seen as the primordial force, right? The creative force, the dynamic force. So I think the main difference is that in Tantra it is more of in the metaphysical sense, and in the Puranic traditions we are seeing that it is being materialized and it is being Shakti is being worshipped, and we see various rituals and traditions. What we can beautifully see here is that there are certain rituals in Purans and there are certain rituals which are also being practiced in the tantric traditions, but they have some differences. But I would personally also I think that both of these traditions coexisted in a way. It was not that one was being suppressed or one was challenging the other, but in almost all of history we see that certain traditions and certain people and beliefs are always coexisting.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I add to that, sir?
Uh, no, please.
Thank you.
Because हमारा टाइम थोड़ा सा चल रहा है आगे, इस वजह से. If you want to ask any question, then you can ask.
No, I do have an explanation to the difference of projecting Shakti in Puranas and Tantras. That's why I asked
In
that.
1 minute, if you can, in 1 minute, I will give you 1 minute to answer it. If possible, please conclude in 1 minute. Otherwise, it's okay.
Yeah. Actually, in Puranas, female deities having male consorts, or they were under that. So in Puranas, they are following a theology of subordination. But in Tantra, either woman is giving equal status or she is transcending Shiva, because the most extreme form of Kali, that is wombing Shiva. There, Kali is projected as the mother of Shiva because she is giving identity to Shiva. So she feminine is described as Shivatmiga, Shivadida also. She is transcending Shiva. She is Shivadida and Shivatmiga also, being the heart of Shiva, transcending the Shiva and wombing the Shiva. So in the most extreme form of Shakta Tantras, like what we have seen in the Kali Krama of Kashmir Shaivism, the Kala Sankarshni, she is transcending the Shiva, and she is the 38th principle in Kashmir Shaivism. In Puranas, in Puranas, we are giving equal status, or a theology of subordination is being implemented in Puranas, because there we are giving the picture of a pure family woman.
No. This is just adding to a point. This is not the truth. In the Puranas as well, the woman isn't seen as a subordination, because the stories which we get about the Devis or the women's, we get it from the Puranas only. Either it is Devi Bhagavad Puran, Devi Atharvashis, and so many other texts as well. We get the stories of Kali, Lakshmi, Saraswati, everybody. We get it from the Puranas only. So there is no, this point is not that much applicable that the women represented in the Puranas only represented in a way of a subordination. So yeah,
Anyhow,
okay. So yeah.
this explanation was given by Madhukana only, the famous the tantric scholar.
Okay, please continue.
Thank you everyone for your presentations. We request our judges to kindly analyze the presentations and share the result to Akshit Bhaiya directly. The results will be announced in the group itself. Every participant who presented today demonstrated not just knowledge but courage, clarity, and conviction. Presenting research in front of an audience and esteemed judges requires confidence, and each one of you did it with sincerity and dedication. Now I request our judges Now I request our judges to address us with their valuable insights. I would like to call Dr. Indra Malapakka ma'am for the same.
Firstly, all the presentations were very well articulated. Everything is fine, and your presentations also. And I have expected, I have got a mark like they will present like this, and I know some of you, right? So मुझे कोई पता है, तो I was expecting that you'll present, and they were beyond this line, really good, and I appreciate this effort you put in writing and reading and presenting, making PPTs and all. Only thing is that whenever you write a paper, please make sure that it meets the theme. It meets the reclaiming Shakti. Okay. So आज के लिए मैं इतना बस 2-3 suggestions बता देती हूँ. Whenever we read the literary texts, we read the ancient classical text or something, or the Puranic जो भी होते हैं ना, one conversation that comes out, like everything starts like Devi Uvacha, Parvati Uvacha, Deva Uvacha. So that is just a conversation between a wife and husband where they are talking about the entire world, globally, entire world, everything. They talk about atmosphere, they talk about environment, they talk about breaths, all these things, religious aspects and all. सो इन दिस हम लोग जब ये थीम के लिए प्लान करते हैं, तो हम ये सोचेंगे कि आप कैसे लिटरेरी टेक्स्ट एंड क्लासिकल थिंग्स को फिर से एक लाइफ दे देंगे. लाइक सम पेपर्स डिड द वेरी बेस्ट इन दैट, क्योंकि द स्कल्पचरल, एपिग्राफिकल एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स को लेके आए हैं. जैसे आपका प्रेजेंटेशन हो रहा था, तो कोई आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स जा रहा है, तो आप इसको भी देख लीजिए कि जितना आपने लिखा है, जितना आपका 15-20 पेजेस का पेपर है, वो 15-20 पेजेस का पेपर को आपने अगर अच्छे से पीपीटी या कोई भी वे में अगर प्रेजेंट नहीं कर पाए, तो you yourself are ruining your paper. See, we are just sitting and giving you marks for your presentation, confidence levels, and pronunciation, all these aspects, parameters को हम marks देंगे. तो one more thing is that जैसे हम लिटरेरी टेक्स्ट को पढ़ने के लिए बोलते हैं, तो रीजनल टेक्स्ट आपके लैंग्वेज में जो जो अवेलेबल है वो पढ़िए, क्योंकि जैसे एक वर्ड मैंने सुना था कि कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइजेशन इज नॉट जस्टिफिकेशन, कंप्लीटली नॉट जस्टिफिकेशन. जैसे मैंने अपना रीजनल एक एग्जांपल बताती हूँ. जैसे तेलुगु में रामायण का जो अग्नि परीक्षा वाला एपिसोड होता है ना, वहां पे राम जी सिर्फ इतना कहते हैं कि श्रीलंका से जब मैम को लेके आते हैं, सीता जी को लेके आते हैं, तब बोलते हैं कि आपने ऐसा बहुत बड़ा अग्नि परीक्षा को क्रॉस करके आए हैं, तो आई अप्रिशिएट योर पेशेंस एंड परसेवियरेंस एंड ऑल दिस करके कुछ डायलॉग्स होते हैं. तो इंटरप्रिटेशन कैसा हुआ, इंटरप्रिटेशन कैसा किया, किसने किया? क्योंकि हम बार बार कहते रहे कि वेस्टर्न लेंस में मत देखिएगा, वेस्टर्न लेंस को पढ़िएगा मत इन द सेंस फॉर सम प्रैक्टिकल रीजंस वी हैव टू गो, बिकॉज कोई बुक्स को ना हमारे पास कोई इंडिजिनस वर्क्स नहीं होंगे, तो हमको लिखना या पढ़ना पड़ता है. तो क्या उनका पर्सपेक्शन क्या है, वो सब देखने के लिए पढ़ना पड़ता है. तो ये मनुस्मृति के बारे में भी मुझे एक एग्जांपल देना था अक्षित जी. जैसे हम कल भी मैम से अपना बात हुआ था, तो उसमें लिखा हुआ है कि 2 कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी सेंटेंसेस एंड ऑल है. तो अगर आप उसको कंटिन्यूअसली पढ़ते रहे कि इस पॉइंट को ओनली नेगेटिविटी के साथ मत पढ़िएगा कि ऐसा लिखा गया, तो कितने सारे लोग यहाँ पर मनुस्मृति पढ़ करके मनुस्मृति के बाद ऊपर कमेंट करते हैं. नहीं करते हैं, बिल्कुल नहीं पढ़ते हैं. वो स्ट्रक अप ऑन दीज 2 सेंटेंसेस, लाइक वो बोलते हैं कि पूज्यते यत्र नारेस्तु पूजन्ते, वो सेंटेंस पर, और शी इज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल एज अ विटनेस, ये सेंटेंसेस पर ना यू आर confined to those sentences. That is not good. वैसे मैंने एक जस्ट एग्जांपल बता देती हूँ. तस्मात् एतः सदा पूज्य भूषण आच्छादनासनैः. ये चैप्टर 7 में आपको दिखाई देता है, वॉल्यूम्स भी अलग है। अगर आप इसको पढ़ना चाहते हैं कि इसमें बोलते हैं कि सत्करेषु उत्सवेषु च, सत्कार भी करना है। कौन से कॉन्टेक्स्ट पे करना है? उत्सवेषु, कोई भी नया फेस्टिवल हो रहा है, नहीं तो कोई अचीवमेंट हुआ है उनका, तो भूषण आच्छादन आसन ही सब कुछ दिया गया है। तो आसना इन द सेल्फ इट्स प्रैक्टिकली मीन्स टू अ पोजिशन। आसना इज अ चेयर, राइट? आसन करना, नहीं तो बिठाना, अप्रिशिएट करना। सो हम कौन उस एक टेक्स्ट को इंटरप्रेट कर रहे हैं, ट्रांसलेट कौन कर रहे हैं, उनका इंटेलेक्चुअल नॉलेज क्या है, ये सब आपको ना बार बार पढ़ने से आता है। एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी फॉर सम एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इको फेमिनिज्म, एट द सेम टाइम द डिजिटलाइजेशन ऑफ दिस थिंग। बट एट द सेम टाइम डिजिटलाइजेशन में क्या है ना, फ्यू एस्पेक्ट्स में जस्ट बोलना चाह रही थी, वन टू लाइन्स। तो जस्ट सेंडिंग एन एमोजी और ये वाला प्रणाम करके, दैट इज सो इजी। बट एट द सेम टाइम एज अ क्रिटिक में बोल सकती हूँ कि एक मदर ना उनके बच्चों को अगर मारना चाहती है तो भी काली माँ का रूप से बताया जाता है ना। एक बैकग्राउंड में एक म्यूजिक आ जाता है कि काली माँ का कोई म्यूजिक आ जाता है। तो डिजिटल लाइफ में ना ये भी हो रहा है। इट्स नॉट लाइक ओनली दैट, बट द 80% इज ओके, बट द रिमेनिंग 20% भी थोड़ा सा अगर आप प्रोज एंड कॉन्स में अगर दे देते हैं ना, तो वो भी अच्छा रहता था। एट द सेम टाइम ऑल द पेपर्स एंड योर प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल्स एंड एवरीथिंग बहुत ही अच्छा लगा। तो मैं अपना जो भी डिसीजंस है, लाइक यू नो पेपर्स एंड सजेशंस जो भी है, मैं अक्षित जी को फॉरवर्ड कर दूंगी एंड ही विल डिसाइड। या सो कंग्रेचुलेशंस टू ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स। एंड अभी अपना प्लेटफॉर्म बढ़ रहा है, to see we can see the papers, more and more papers every year, so next year we anticipate more and more papers. So yeah, congratulate Dakshi for this fabulous seminar. I've learned a lot through this paper. I have learned a lot through from your presentations. Thanks a lot for enlightening me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the enlightening advice and suggestions. We really appreciate your presence here. I would like to call Soumya ma'am now.
Yeah, from my side also, congratulations to all of the presenters. And I think you did a great job because nowadays this ancient Indian knowledge system is reinterpreting, and there are so many misconceptions are also happening. So from the new generation students, like college students, you are doing this kind of initiatives. It's great. And each and every papers, two, three papers I missed because of here heavy rain and network issues happening. That's why one, two papers. But I think most of the papers you interpreted. That is the main thing. The way of the interpretation that is making the sense. No, so that is very nicely you interpreted, and the way you presented also it was great, nice. And one more thing, that the structural clarity. See, while you're explaining the things, no, you are taking the aspects from Indian knowledge system and Sanskrit tradition and the shlokas also. It was very nice. And when we are talking about the concept of feminism, right? So, ancient system offers us a spiritual feminism that is both radical and empowering. So, most of the papers that also were in that line only. So, it teaches us that the feminine is the bridge between the silent absolute and the vibrant living world. So these are the roots. We find a perspective of the feminine with the freedom, right? So it is like for me also it was too many ideas you were sharing, and from your side, like students tried, you are taking this initiative. It's good. And when we are talking about the feminism concept, I think you just so one more suggestion from my side is you please take some references from Vedas. I think some of the students they already took the references, and then with the need and demand of the society and the current society, you please connect that. I think you did that, but it's from my suggestion. You please connect. Like, see, I think the dharana, that the last paper, Vaijnaniga Bhairava Tantra, right? So there you already mentioned the dharana. So that dharanas, how that kind of how we can use that for the multitasking areas, and as a woman, right? So as a woman, how we can use that emotional energy as a portion. So instead of suppressing the intense emotions, how can we use that kind of dharanas in our daily scenario and in current scenarios also. So these kind of aspects also, I think it will be there in the paper. I didn't check the paper entirely. So that kind of ideas you please include, because the problem is nowadays we are facing is our Indian knowledge system, the Sanskrit tradition. It is not useful for the current scenario. That is why some of the universities, they are also not giving importance for the Sanskrit. So these ideas, like this knowledge, this treasure is needed for the current society, for current humanity also. So this is our task to establish this, right? So I think yeah, you did a great job, and congratulations to all. We will share the result with the consecutive portals. Okay, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those wonderful suggestions. It was truly an honor for all of us to have you with us. So moving forward, हमारे 3 दिन के इस विस्मरणीय एवं अद्भुत कार्यक्रम को एक सूत्र में पिरोने हेतु एवं समापन वक्तव्य प्रस्तुत करके हम सबको अनुग्रहित करने हेतु मैं अक्षत भैया को आमंत्रित करती हूँ. प्लीज भैया.
नमस्कार, respected guests, participants, and dear Dakshi परिवार members. जैसा कि दोनों जजेस ने, डॉक्टर सौम्या और डॉक्टर इंदिरा ने आप सभी के पेपर्स के बारे में जो रिव्यू है वो दे ही दिया है, तो आई विल नॉट टॉक ओवर दिस. बट सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज बस एक सजेशन है जो कि सभी पेपर्स के सभी लोगों को और जो आगे लिखने वाले हैं उनको भी ये ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि हमने रिक्लेमिंग शक्ति, ऑल्दो इस पे पिछले 2 दिन में काफी अच्छी चर्चा हुई है, बट फिर भी रिक्लेमिंग शक्ति में जब हम पेपर्स सेलेक्ट कर रहे थे, वी हैव गॉट अराउंड 40 पेपर्स. ठीक है, उसके बाद वी हैव रिजेक्टेड हम 21 पेपर्स. ठीक है, बिकॉज ऑफ सो मेनी सर्टेन रीजंस. यू नो द रीजंस वेरी वेल. उसके बाद भी वी हैव रिजेक्टेड 6 to 7 papers after selecting the 90 papers in the final review, है ना. क्योंकि काफी सारा ये है जो हमने बात करा इंडेक्स पर्सपेक्टिव का, रिक्लेमिंग शक्ति का, और ये सारी चीजों की हम बात कर रहे थे, बट फिर भी हम वही सारे एलिमेंट्स, वही सारे पर्सपेक्टिव्स और वही सारी चीजों को यूज कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, बीच में कई सारे क्वेश्चंस में वो चीज बाहर आई भी, है ना. हमने बात की इंडेक्स पर्सपेक्टिव्स की, बट थ्योरी लाइन हमारी वही है जिसको हम क्रिटिक कर रहे हैं. तो काफी सारी जगह कॉन्ट्रडिक्शंस आपको दिखाई दे सकते हैं खुद में अगर आप अपनी चीजों को एनालाइज करेंगे तो. दूसरा जो कि क्वेश्चंस में भी आया और वैसे भी इन जनरल परसेप्शन में भी था कि रिक्लेमिंग शक्ति, एक्सप्लोरिंग द इंडियन आइडिया ऑफ फेमिनिज्म, व्हाट डज इट मींस? इट डजंट मीन कि यू हैव टू टॉक ओनली ओवर शक्ति, यू हैव टू टॉक ओवर द इम्प्लीकेशंस ऑफ द शक्ति एज वेल. ठीक है, उसके हम कैसे उसको हिस्टोरियोग्राफी में, कैसे उसको हिस्टोरियोग्राफिकल ट्रेडिशंस में कैसे उसको स्टैब्लिश कर सकते हैं उस आइडिया को. वी हैव टू स्टैब्लिश आइडिया ऑफ शक्ति as the idea of historiography to read the gender studies. This is what we have to think over it, right? तो ये चीज थोड़ा सा नहीं है और होना चाहिए, या मतलब होनी चाहिए थी. कई कुछ में दिखा भी है, बट बहुत ज्यादा उस पर बहुत ज्यादा फोकस नहीं किया गया. शक्ति पे बहुत ज्यादा चर्चा हुई है, मेटाफिजिकल शक्ति पे भी बहुत ज्यादा चर्चा हुई है. ऑल्दो हमारे पिछले 2 सेशंस जो हमने पिछले 2 दिन किए उसमें इस पे बहुत ज्यादा चर्चा हुई, सोशल इम्प्लीकेशंस पे भी, डिवीजन पे भी, हिस्टोरियोग्राफिक ट्रेडिशंस पे भी. बट पेपर्स में वो चीज आए, है ना. इसीलिए ये इवेंट ऑर्गेनाइज करा जा रहा था कि वो आपको एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग मिले, एक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू मिले, एक आर्ग्यूमेंट्स मिले कि आप उस तरीके से उसको फ्रेम कर सकते हैं. So this is about this only. So as we conclude NAVCHETNA's 4th edition, our 3-day journey exploring reclaiming Shakti, the Indian idea of feminism, I reflect on the richness of conversations, insights, and connections we have shared. Through panel discussions, seminars, and student presentations, we have revisited the profound Indic wisdom of Shakti, a force that celebrates the feminine, the cosmic, and the inherent strength within. From questioning colonial narratives to embracing our civilizational ethos, every dialogue has reinforced the need to revive authentic